Clive Barker Podcast Audio Commentaries.
Thanks to your generous donations to our Kickstarter funding campaign,
Clive Barker Podcast presents Fundraiser 8 Sell.
Hey, well, welcome. This is episode 289 of the Clive Barker Podcast. We've got Ed and Nina joining us today. Hello.
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 And we're doing another A to Z commentaries. We're on I for Innocence, and I think that's Innocence with a T, right? It's about kids.
Yeah, innocence, as in plural. Yeah, more than one innocent.
Those are the innocents.
Yeah, like innocent,
Guilty or innocent?
innocent people. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
like
established.
So
Yes.
I is for Innocence is about movies with killer children in them. And
Creepy.
Les enfants terribles.
Yes, exactly.
the terrible children and or terrible babies, or is that what that is?
Yeah.
The main thrust of that chapter in Clive Barker's A to Z of Horror is the bad seed. I mean, they mention some other books, but this is the main
Or
one
movies,
they
some
talked
other
about.
movies.
Yeah, they mentioned some other movies, but this was the main one that kind of occupied that chapter.
Right
And
on.
I think the interesting thing about movies like this is they sort of, the horror of it is like, if it's a kid doing it, how do you fight back? And it's also the way that movies sort of paint themselves into a corner, and we'll talk about that with this one. You know,
Yeah.
trying to figure out how to resolve the ending.
Right.
And the way that Hollywood, always wants to make things, or used to want to always make things with a happy ending and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the Hays Code. The Hays Code also is going to influence a lot how this movie is going to end, but we'll get into that later.
Right.
The Bad Seed novel was written by William Marsh, or March, sorry. And
1954.
in 1954. So it was 2 years until this movie made it to production.
To the screen.
Before that, of course, it was adapted into a play, 1954 as well. It was just a few months after it came out. It was adapted by Maxwell Anderson. And a lot of the cast that did the original Broadway production ended up also being part of the movie. And it kind of shows in the way that the movie, that there's this heightened drama.
Theatricalness.
Yeah, it's very theatrical.
And also the location, like it's very staged on a set, kind of.
Yeah, it's mostly in one apartment with a few exterior shots and stuff, which also is kind of a carryover from that. And this used to happen with some movies, some books that got transformed into plays and then eventually made movies. Like Dracula is a big one. Like the reason why we think of Dracula as this guy wearing a fancy suit and a tie and a tuxedo and whatever, it's because that's how he was depicted in the Broadway
theater version.
Theater version. Because of course, then we got Francis Ford Coppola's version where he's got all those like weird European style aristocratic like robes and
costumes
stuff. Yeah, but yeah. So this was from 54 to 56. It was just 2 years until the book got turned into a movie, and it did pretty well.
Yeah, the theater play as well as the book and the movie.
And it's pretty easy to get a hold of if you're wanting to follow along with us. Just a quick search and I found it for sale and for rent. So for sale it was $5 on iTunes and Amazon Prime, and to rent was $3. So I figured, well, it's only $2 difference. I'll just buy it.
Yeah, and on YouTube you can get it, I think, too, as a purchase or a rental.
Yeah, right.
$3 a $3 rental,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's in the public domain at this point, being as old as it is.
I don't think so.
No, it's a Warner movie. I think it's out on Blu-ray. I got a Blu-ray version here. So I don't think it's public domain yet. But yeah, so we're going to watch that. We have it all paused up on the Warner Brothers logo.
Yeah.
On black and white. And you guys know the drill. You guys listen to the movie while we're watching it at the same time. We're all synced
Get
up.
queued up, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll do a little countdown with Ed here. He's going to do the countdown, and then you hit play, and we'll get it started.
All righty. So I'm going to begin the countdown. Here
All
we
right.
go. Like the Thunderbirds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thunderbirds are go. Now push play.
There you go. Ooh, opens with a thunderstorm.
Yeah, I was really noticing the audio on this film. Of course, I'm a blind podcaster, but
Right.
I've seen this film back when I was sighted many times. I really like this film.
The first
Yeah.
thing, it kind of got off on the wrong foot with me by having the title in quotation marks.
Uh-huh.
Like, what are you trying to say? I mean, like, you can't even stand behind your own title?
It is
I
a
wonder if
strange
that's the way the
choice.
play was in the book, if it had quotation marks.
Yeah.
So
well, and
you see-
it's funny that the director is Marvin LeRoy, and and then the creepiest character in this is named Leroy.
Yeah. Also, he's done many other films. I think he was involved with The Wizard of Oz. I think he was involved with perhaps the Gone with the Wind.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. So it's introducing Patty McCormack. She plays the little blonde girl with pigtails. She's adorable. She's like, everything you wanted in a little girl, a daughter. That's Patty McCormack. She's just super cute, and she still is a pretty beautiful lady nowadays as well.
She's still alive today.
They focus on, it's like, this is one of like 3 times that they focus on the pier because of what's going to happen in the movie. And
yeah, at the very beginning, they show the pier.
they want to they want to focus in on it really close and say, this is going to be important later.
And what's interesting too is the music and the audio, the sound design, the lightning, the thunder, the weird music at the beginning with the credits, the titles, appear on screen with this weird music. And then she plays piano, and that's kind of weird music. And then throughout the film, here's spoiler alert, we're going to spoil this movie. One of the things that happens at the end is the same music comes in at the end. So it's kind of bookended, the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
It's the theme. And this is the dad, I think. The dad in the book, he had a different rank. I think it was a lieutenant colonel or something. Yeah. And at the time that the story takes place, he's a civilian, I think. But here he's still in the military still. In the military, yep.
And going back to this nature versus nurture argument in this movie, I think that it's totally nurture, because you name a kid rhododendron, what do you expect?
For them to grow as a weed.
Yeah. I didn't notice that. That's well, she's Rhoda Penmark.
Well, Rhoda is short for rhododendron, because he just called
That's true. Yeah,
her
rhododendron.
Dad has a pet name for her, and he calls her Rhododendra something or other. He mentions.
Oh, so you think her full name isn't rhododendron?
No, I think he just calls her that as a little tease pet name.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's very Richard Gere looking.
Yeah,
he is.
Yeah.
Right. I was thinking that. Yeah. And that lady over there, Evelyn Varden, she plays Monica. She's the owner of the apartment where the mother and daughter are living.
Landlady.
Right.
Yeah,
yes, exactly.
Upstairs.
And later on, that drunk mother is going to come in and go on and on about how rich these people are. I'm like, how rich can you be if you live in an apartment where the landlady can just wander in, and the groundskeeper guy just kind of wanders in. Nobody ever knocks.
Yeah, he's got a key. He just comes right in. He says, Leroy, and here he is.
Yeah.
No, but
He's like Lenny and Squiggy.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
It was a simpler time.
How the landlady treats Christine, the mother, as if they're both on the level with each other. They're both women of means.
Yeah.
Right.
She's her best
tenant.
tenant.
Her a peer.
Yeah.
So she kind of is overly friendly with her because she considers her the same.
And Rhoda, too. Like, she loves Rhoda. She always has Rhoda over her house for dinner and stuff.
Yeah,
in the story, Monica actually mentions that she met Dr. Freud once, and that he said she was too complicated to analyze. And she's going to do a lot of like pseudo psychology throughout the movie.
Yeah, I was going to mention that this is a film of the time period, like just before the 60s, when people, of means used to think that it was like kitschy and cool to get a psychiatrist, to have, like, who are you seeing? Like, if you have a fancy, expensive psychiatrist, and you're a rich, lady, that they would all get together with their coffee clutches and compare notes that their psychiatrists have told them and stuff.
Well, and going back to what you were saying about how she was how she loves Rhoda, it seems like there's a little bit of a red herring in this movie that's kind of saying, hey, maybe spoiling a kid too much will make them turn out like, a murderer or whatever.
Cray cray.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole nature versus nurture argument.
Yeah.
This is all about it.
She gives her presents every time she sees her, and it's like, come on.
Yeah, and the father too. Like when the father goes and comes back,
Yeah. Oh, and basket full of hugs and all that.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. What will you give me if I give you a basket full of, or if I give you a basket full of kisses? Oh, you'll get a basket full of hugs.
Yeah. I know. Well, and you can tell from Rhoda that it's this whole thing that she sort of memorized on ways to distract her parents and make them think that she's good all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and interestingly, from the play, as Joe was saying, there's 4 actors that went from the theater to the stage, and to the movie version. And Rhoda's one of them. Her mother's one of them. The guy that plays LeRoy is one of them, and the landlady upstairs is one of them.
Wow, that's almost the entire cast.
Christine, Rhoda, Hortense, and LeRoy.
Yeah,
all went from stage to screen.
Wow,
and they're great. I think their performance.
Right, because we were watching a video where the adult Patty McCormack was talking about how during the play she could see how the audience was reacting to her.
Yeah, so creepy. Like if she had a smile or something,
So she really learned how to do Rhoda.
How to twist the knife in the theater audience. She could gauge reactions, and then she could use that in the screen version.
She is too perfect, isn't she? Right off the bat, she just seems like she's too perfect, and it kind of puts me in this unease. Like what? She doesn't look real. She looks like a porcelain doll.
I agree.
It's a really carefully constructed persona.
And because she did it so many times on stage, that little girl, she got like a master manipulator of how to twist the knife in the audience.
Yeah.
Patty McCormack had an interview on YouTube where she was talking about how they did 334 performances of the play. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was very successful.
It was only on for 2 years, and that's like every other day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like 2 performances a night sometimes.
She would watch this show called Mama, and it ended at 8:30, and then she would go in at 8:40. And then she would take a cab and change inside the cab.
She was in 2 shows, one across town. Yeah.
Right. And she would always try to get there before the understudy had a chance to go on, because you never let the understudy go on.
And she would be changing into her costume in the taxi on her way over there.
Yeah. So that was LeRoy, the janitor.
Yeah.
Scoping out the mom.
Yeah, he did, right? He gave her the up and down look.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and he does a monologue later where he talks about, she's lonely, and I'm,
Yeah.
I might go over there while the husband's out of town, kind of thing.
Yeah, right. But then at the same time, Monica says that he has a family, so it's like, well, what's he doing?
Yeah, the lady upstairs says the only reason why I keep him employed is because he managed to have a family. Like she acts like as if, like he's an idiot, like he's like the village idiot or something.
She says he's got like an 8-year-old's mentality.
Yeah, but in a way it's almost like he's not really that stupid. He's just creepy.
Yeah.
No, in fact, I agree. I think he isn't that stupid. Like at one point, he and the little girl are alone together, and they're sort of comparing notes and talking.
Yeah. So it's weird. It's almost like he's putting on an act, also.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He also seems like it might be a little bit of misdirection in the movie to make us think that he's going to do something bad, but then it's a little girl that's going to do something bad.
Yeah.
And one of the most unrealistic things here is that the landlady would not tell the girl, "Hey, you're going to wreck my floor with those tap dancing shoes."
I do remember a friend of ours. She had her floors redone, and when people began to come over after
hardwood
the floors
floors,
were done, she had a set of stickers you put on the bottom of your high heels, so you don't poke little dents in the hardwood floor. And she'd make people wear them, and she'd watch your feet. And you're not coming in with those shoes on.
Yeah.
That's
they don't
like-
want to scuff the floorboards.
Like people that keep the plastic covers on their couch.
Yeah.
For 18 years.
Yeah, who are you saving this couch for?
Or you have one living room that has all plastic on it.
See, here's where he
nobody
squirts
sits
her
in there.
shoe, and he definitely does it on purpose.
Yeah, he does it a second time right there too.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to point it over. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
I'm just clumsy, he says,
Yeah.
And we just had that moment where little Rhoda was looking in the distance and saying how angry she was that, she didn't win that thing. And the mom's like, well, that happens to all of us. We just move on with our lives.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
Yeah, she's focused.
Yeah. Yeah, and she doesn't. I mean, later on, the idea of killing over that doesn't bother her at all. The only thing that bothers her is that she's afraid she's going to get in trouble.
She's a total sociopath. You know,
Yeah.
she has no emotions, no right and wrong. She doesn't know what right and wrong is. Obviously, when you are young, sometimes you'll have a pet die or something like that, and it teaches you about death and loss, or maybe a grandparent or something like that. But that's a normal child.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever seen a documentary called Child of Rage?
I've heard of it.
No.
I don't know if I've seen it.
It's about this little girl called Beth Thomas, and she's being interviewed. She was, it's a horrible story. I mean, this little girl, she kept hurting her little brother, and she was an adopted girl. And it turns out that she had been abused by her biological dad before she could even walk. And then she would be poking needles into her adoptive parents and her little brother and all that stuff. And she would constantly masturbate to the point where she would make herself raw, and she would yank on her little brother's penis and hurt him. And it was a terrible thing. And she was classified as having this thing called affective attachment or something like that, or maybe that was a therapy they used for her. And ultimately therapy worked for her, and she is now a registered nurse, and she actually works with newborns. And she got awards for it. But there's a documentary on YouTube called Child of Rage, where she's saying that she was locked in her room every night by her parents so she wouldn't hurt her brother, and also because they were afraid of her, because she would be talking to the interviewer saying, are your parents afraid of you? Yeah. What are you afraid of? That I would stab them. How would you stab them?
Burn them in their
with a
beds at
knife.
night.
And it's she was completely
Okay.
well, she got better. But
So in her case, you would say she makes an argument for nurture, that because she was abused,
Right.
that's why she was enraged. Whereas this little girl has known nothing but good.
Yeah, she was nurtured, and supposedly there's no, reason externally. It's biological, supposedly. She was born with the gene or the blood of the mental.
Right. Hence the bad seed title, because if we're going to go into spoilers, we're going to find out later in the movie.
Spoilers.
Yep. I mean, you got to watch it before you watch it with us, because we're going to spoil it.
This is an old movie. I mean, sorry if you haven't had a chance to see this movie.
Yeah.
It is a good movie. Stop the tape. Go watch it.
The bad seed title comes from the fact that later on we're going to find out that the mother was adopted, and she fears that it was her that carried this psychopathic gene to her.
Yeah,
because her mother, her biological mother was actually a serial killer. She killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
The whole family.
She doesn't know it at this point, though.
Yeah. Her mother would have killed her entire husband's family and plus all of her kids except for one, which is her.
Yeah.
And she didn't even know because she was too young to remember that.
But she might have been killed as well if she hadn't jumped out the window and ran away, remember?
Right.
This movie also seems to exist in this bizarre parallel dimension where all serial killers are women. Because that's all those when they're all sitting around talking,
or at least
about,
the ones that are mentioned.
Yeah, all the ones they're talking about when they're sitting around talking about killers, they're all women.
Also, quick notice how she works a bit of a Julia look here from Hellraiser. Her hairstyle.
Yeah, totally.
Good catch, Nina.
Good catch. Good call.
Hey, let's
it's
make a
very
party for
fashionable.
kids and make it by a lake and a dangerous pier, and then not let the kids go on the pier.
Yeah.
Right. Like dangle the carrot, why don't you?
Yeah.
But it is true that's very interesting about what you said about the women serial killers and the parallel to Julia.
Yeah.
Well,
in real life, serial killers are almost all men. I mean, like 90.
Oh yeah, it's very rare.
Yeah.
That's why, like Eileen Warnoff, the Monster, that movie was made such a splash and stuff, is because it's so rare.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, in her case, she was beaten and raped and abused for years before she killed anybody. So in that case,
Well, I'm
I guess
sure that's the story of most women murderers, is that something went wrong.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're here to argue about: nature versus nurture.
Yeah.
Were they born that way?
Well,
I think the lady just spoke about Freud there, Monica.
Oh yeah, that's a very interesting point. The fact that she mentions, I met Sigmund Freud.
Yeah.
Yeah, and her brother pokes her with that remark about she's been laid on couches all over. And in the early days of psychiatry, I might add, because I actually am a very avid reader of people like Anais Nin and what does
she have to do with psychiatry?
Because she was analyzed by Otto Rank. That was her psychiatrist.
Was he a Freud?
And him and Jung and Freud, they were all peers. And back then, when psychiatry was first beginning to be practiced in the 30s, before the war
the
broke
30s
out
and 40s
in Paris, it was not uncommon to have an affair with your patient.
Oh,
it
yeah.
wasn't as forbidden as now. You could get sued for that.
Well, back then,
in
that was
30s,
the
they wouldn't
I'm
even
sure
have
that
done.
was.
She wouldn't have thought of suing Otto Rank for trying to seduce her.
I'm sure that
Wow.
was part of the
She
whole
was
thing.
flattered. Anais Nin was flattered. He tried to seduce
That
her.
would
All that
completely.
The woman has a bit of that.
all that stuff about sex involved with psychiatry too.
Yeah,
like
well-
every dream is phallic, and
Yeah, it's a good reason for that being a no-no, because it just completely alters the dynamic, and it would mask a lot of stuff. And
Well, and it's taking advantage. They're
Yeah, of
opening
course.
up
Yeah, I
to
mean-
you and bringing out all these feelings, and they're vulnerable.
yeah.
But you saw how Monica swooned a bit when she remembered being analyzed.
Oh,
oh
yeah.
yeah,
She's of that
she's a
generation.
junkie. She's a psychiatry
Yes,
junkie
She's
Yeah.
of that generation. Yep.
Yeah,
and an armchair psychiatrist herself.
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, we'll see that more in the middle of the film when the mother. She's going to be asking whether there's a discussion about how children might be killers. And it's like, oh, I'm not asking this for any particular reason, not because my little daughter might be a killer.
Yeah.
Hint, hint.
Yeah.
Suddenly, I want to write a book.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Say no
Yes.
more.
So right
Exactly.
now she has a little weird. She has a little weird sort of deja vu because she hears her mother's name mentioned.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, but watching this, we don't know why. I mean, the first time.
Yeah, that name, that Anchors or whatever her last name is it kind of brings out a bit,
Danker. Yeah.
Dank-
Oh my God, that poor bird in that tiny little cage. He barely has any
know.
room.
Yeah,
That's
he can't
it's
even
just
stretch.
freaking me out.
Can't even stretch his wings out.
I know, man.
And the foreshadowing on that bird is that the little girl wants that bird so much that she's willing to perhaps kill the old lady for it.
Oh, I know. Yeah, and that's the other thing in this movie. They focus so hard on this recent murder, but it's like, yeah, well, and she also killed.
She's been murdering for years.
Yeah, she also killed that old lady so that she could get the snow globe or whatever, and
Yeah, 8 flights of stairs or something.
yeah. She didn't die. She wasn't dying soon enough, so
Yeah.
This
A
movie
little girl
was.
that was less heartless and less sociopathic might have learned to manipulate a little longer to get what she wanted. Rhoda's impatient. She's very impatient. She wants it
Right.
now.
Yeah.
And the thing about the staging, the theatricalness of taking these 4 cast members and making them the movie with them too, is I think also, you kind of get the theatricalness of her performance and the mother of the little dead boy's performance and stuff. They're a little over the top for movies, but it's okay in this production. I think it's kind of fitting because Rhoda is, even though she comes off as this sweet little girl with blonde pigtails and a beautiful smile, she's creepy. Her over the top edge of her performance, and then when she screams and stuff later, like you can begin to hate her. You can say like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, her mother begins to tell her that you're not pulling this off anymore.
Yeah, she's a bad actress. The school teachers know she's not right. Something's not right about her.
Yeah, her dad's fooled.
Yes, because he loves her so much.
Because the dad is never there and he's not paying attention.
Yeah,
and he has that whole basket full of kisses and all that crap, he brings her all these presents, and to him he's just the dad, it's his little girl,
Well, and Monica is also fooled, right? And she's supposed to be the psychiatry expert.
So this movie
Monica finds her refreshing.
Yeah,
I think though at the end of the movie that she may go live with Monica, supposedly, like we know that in this movie what really happens, but it seems like she may end up like going to live with Monica if the mother is in the psycho house or dead, and the father's always going out of town, and then like Monica might become her like part guardian or something, and Monica may find herself falling down some stairs in the future.
My wife works with people with borderline personality disorder, so they're people that don't really have a conscience, and so she does this dialectical behavioral therapy, and the idea is to teach them behavioral things to do to compensate for not having a conscience or not having empathy.
Right.
That's very interesting that your wife is in that line of work and stuff. And has she seen this movie? Or
she was definitely not interested in this movie at all. Even me describing it to her, she was getting upset.
I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
So we just had the moment where the radio announces that one of the kids, we can't tell you which one because of drama.
Yeah.
But one of the kids has drowned at the pier.
We'll tell you which one after this commercial break.
Yeah.
Exactly. And as she's about to run out the door, it's like, okay, now we can tell you the name.
Yeah.
It was Little Daigle.
I'm a really good, now that I'm blind, I'm really good. And also before I used to be really good at picking out who is an actor from something else, and I did that with this movie. And I swear to gosh, I think that if you guys were to be able to find out, I can't find this out, but if you were to be able to find out who the announcer who read that radio message was, who's continue to read that radio message for all the announcing here, he's LeRoy. The actor who plays LeRoy is the same man. Often in theater, they would have a person who played a small part would play like 3 small parts so that they would, have an excuse for being at the theater all night, And so in this case, I think they did that with this cast of this LeRoy. They said like, well, you can, without using that kind of drawl and sort of, affected voice, if he plays his announcer voice, I believe it's the same man doing both parts.
It might just well be.
I did see on IMDb that there are parts in this movie that are uncredited. I mean, and the credits on this are so minimal. I mean, they have them all up front at the start of the movie.
Yeah, I'd like to find out who that announcer was. There is no credit that we were able to find for it.
Yeah.
Here's a real defining moment in the movie after we've heard that a little boy got drowned and everybody at the celebration or the little kid party or field trip.
Yeah, they didn't feed him any lunch after that.
Yeah.
Right. And the little girl comes home and she's just doing fine. And she's like, we didn't have lunch because little Daigle drowned.
Can I have a peanut butter sandwich?
Yeah.
And, sometimes you can think, well, kids sometimes take a while to process this stuff. But in her case, it's like, nope, she's just doing dandy.
Yeah. It's hard to imagine because reading that chapter of the book completely spoils this movie. I mean, I already knew every event of this movie and I hadn't even seen it yet, because of the Clive Barker's A to Z of horror.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean,
it's a shame because if you have discovered this movie on your own, some late night like I did, on television back in the day, and it creeps you out, when you're done. But you didn't get the full effect.
All these, I don't know, but still even the title, The Bad Seed, is a little bit of a spoiler.
Yeah, it gives it away.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, it tips the hand.
Yeah.
But there's a channel on YouTube called Special Books for Special Kids, SBSK.
Oh, I love that channel.
Yeah, isn't it great? That guy is something else.
Yes.
And one time, there's a video where they interview a sociopathic young man. And they're saying, okay, so, what's your diagnosis? And he's like, well, I'm sociopathic. And he's explaining how he can't help if he's talking to someone and he discovers that they have something that he wants, or they can do something for him that he wants, that he will just change his personality according to whatever flaws he sees in the person. And he will just try to overpower them, whether by, conversation or whatever, and try to get what he wants from them. Yeah. And it's like, because I have that diagnosis and because I've noticed that I do that now, I just have to limit my social interactions.
You, Joe? Are you saying you yourself?
No, he was
No. The young man.
He's talking about the guy in the video.
Okay.
The young sociopathic man in the special books for special kids.
Okay.
Man, I will cry if I see like an animal abuse video. I'm empathetic. So
Me too. Yeah.
But he's saying he has no way of controlling it because he doesn't know how to control it. So what he does is he limits his social interaction with people, and if he finds that. Because he can't help it. He doesn't know
advantage in some way, or
So that's it's strange that we never think about what it's like to be on the other side of that line. Whether you grow up that way, that's how you are, and even if they tell you, well, you're broken, you're wrong, you're abusing people by doing this. It's like that's just the way that they interact. So they do have this feeling of, and he says, I never thought I was different. I thought everybody else was different, which kind of goes towards that egocentrical thing where they're like, I am me and everything rolls around me. And this is how I'm just going to take what I want. So,
that's kind of like, Anton LaVey and the LaVeyan, Satanism and stuff. That's what their philosophy is too, that, do as thou wilt,
Yeah.
She'll be the whole of the law.
I think what's interesting about Monica, how she really misses the boat on this girl's pathology, because I think Monica is a narcissist, and she just thinks this little girl's another narcissist. She doesn't realize, like, this girl's going to push you down a flight of stairs, lady.
I know.
She's going to push you off the roof.
It doesn't matter that you're nice to her. She doesn't care that you're nice to her. She's not going to eat you last.
Yeah,
she's going to send you out to the cornfield.
And if she knew that her life was in danger, if she didn't give the bird to her, she probably would just give her the bird.
Well, but that's what's crazy is that these sociopaths, if they were only taught at an early age that, like, you can get what you want without murder. You can, money is available. Like, if you're from a wealthy family, just, crack the piggy bank and buy a bird at the pet store, but that's too simple. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, if she's not going to die for a really long time, then I guess I just have to kill her.
Yeah.
It's like A to Z.
Yeah.
Cold, apathetic, and calculating.
Yeah.
That's how she is. And there were two unofficial sequels. There was a Mommy in 95 and Mommy 2, Mother's Day in 97. That star Patty McCormack as the bad seed all grown up with a daughter of her own.
Really? I didn't know that.
I don't know how good they are. I didn't look them up.
Oh, that's right. I think that was mentioned in the A to Z of horror, I think.
There's so many other movies that have similar themes, like you were mentioning, Joe, the one with Macaulay Culkin,
Right. The Good Son, I think. That's the name with Elijah Wood, I think. I watched that movie like
somebody gets pushed out of a treehouse or something.
Wasn't that like late 90s or early
80s? I think it was 80s, late 80s maybe, early 90s.
Doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but I could be wrong.
At least 20 years,
It feels like it was a long time for me because I saw that probably when it came out. 93. That's 93. That's when it came out. Yep. The Good Son. Macaulay Culkin, very psychopathic.
Yeah. He was an enfant terrible.
He was. He's fine now.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Also, it made me think about other movies too. Like, how in The Omen, how the mother gets killed and then the father is about to kill the little boy in The Omen and then he gets shot. And so the mother and the father are both dead. And at the very end of The Omen, the little boy is there holding the hand, I think, of the president, and the mother, the president's first lady. And he turns and looks at the audience with this creepy smile.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in that case, he's the ultimate enfant terrible because he's the Antichrist.
Yeah.
He's the Antichrist. I love the Omen movies, by the way. And then when he grows up into Sam Neill, holy crap, that's really
I love
good.
Sam Neill.
I've only
so
seen the first one. I never saw any of the sequels to that.
There's 4 of them.
I assumed they were terrible.
Oh no, they're
The
good.
Sam Neill stuff's not bad. No.
Oh really?
They're an actual. They're the
First
full
one's
story.
best.
Yeah, I love the Omen, and they try to make a remake out of it, but they never really kept it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, so just like you guys mentioned, Blood, Hellraiser, with, Angelique. I mean, not Angelique, Julia. And, just the idea of movies that reminded me, from watching this, or, not watching it, but my memory of watching this and then of listening to it again, with Nina, just all these other movies came into my mind, that were similar or had similar themes.
Yeah.
This Mrs. Fern is so severe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's from the school. She's coming in to say that they're going to expel the little girl from the school because
I think they can tell that something's wrong with her. Like she's always been Little Miss Perfect at the school, to the degree that the kids hate her. And they like, there was a part where they mentioned that she was chasing the little boy around so much that 3 other little girls had to protect him.
No, you misunderstood. It was her and her 2 sisters who run the school. It took the 3 Fern sisters to get him off of her. Or get her off of him.
But
then she doesn't describe to the mother the struggle here. She doesn't say, your little girl was badgering him so badly we had to pull her off of him. She doesn't tell her.
Yeah, and more to that point too. Like at the beginning of the picnic, she says, "Well, do all the other kids like her?" And she hesitates, and then she goes, "Yeah." It's like
right, she doesn't want to admit it.
Yeah, she does. She doesn't want them to think they're doing a bad job or they're not paying attention to her or something.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, well, now I'm going to expel her because of this incident. That she doesn't believe that she murdered him yet.
Yeah,
but just because of one little incident of chasing him around asking for his award or whatever.
No, I think it's been her whole career at that school. She's had multiple incidents, and they've just kept it quiet and brushed it under the carpet because she's the cute little girl, and she won so many other she got so many other awards, and she's always the perfect one that
book in her hand. She won at Sunday school.
But my point is that she covered it up for so long. I mean, she's not making a very good case for expelling her now.
But
I think that the adults, like the teachers, they work hip to her fakeness.
Right. I mean, in this scene when she comes in and sees the lady as she curtsies and she's being all smiley, it's almost this forced fake subservience, right? It's like almost to the point of being sarcastic. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, she's just not natural. She doesn't come off as real. That theatrical performance that she got used to doing on stage, your theatricalness in film
it's mimicry.
Comes off as a bit phony. And it's okay in this case because she is a little phony.
This is mimicry. She's trying to mask her personality by mimicking the behavior that she thinks would give her,
to get her what she wants.
Exactly. This is what everyone expects a girl to be.
That other guy that was at a party talking to them just a while ago, he's going to come back in and she's going to curtsy at him. He's going to be like, "Oh, how beautiful."
She charms him.
You make a bachelor think of getting married, which is kind of a creepy thing to say, but it's a little girl. But he's so melted butter when she does the curtsy thing to that guy, and is like, so that works some of the time. And also what she does to her mother with her hands, like she caresses her face and neck.
Yeah,
and she goes like,
she says to her
I
mother
have the prettiest
about,
mother.
Like, you're the prettiest mother. You're the nicest mother.
And when that doesn't work, she starts like clicking her shoes together, and she does. That's all that stuff's pretty realistic for how kids are.
Yeah. But this movie got remade in '85, which is kind of a bad adaptation. But then they remade it again in 2018 with Rob Lowe. I think he directed that version.
Lifetime or something.
For the Lifetime channel, exactly. And they got this other girl played the bad seed. What's her name? Let me get.
Yeah, she's brunette, not blonde, right?
Yeah, McKenna Grace. Yeah, that's McKenna Grace who does the role of Rhoda. And in her movie, she does that to Rob Lowe with the hands, just like in this movie. Like, I have such a nice dad, such a lovely dad.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, do they let these people who are going to see, do they see the original, I wonder? The little girl who played that part in the remake.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She McKenna Grace mimicked a lot of stuff from the original movie, and Patty McCormack is in that movie. She plays a cameo as the psychologist. And there's a scene where Rob Lowe, the dad, takes Rhoda to a psychologist. And the psychologist is Patty McCormack, who plays Rhoda in this movie. And it kind of gives us this notion that the dad doesn't get to be in the session. So it's just the two
Women.
female characters together. And there's a lot of giggling. And there's a scene where she's explaining, why do people get upset when other people die? And then the psychologist saying, well, I know it's inevitable that we're all going to die, but it's just the way people act. It's just what empathy is, what makes us human. And then there's this thing. It's like, I used to be like you when I was your age. I used to do a lot of stuff like you do. And then it's like, oh my God, are they acting like Are they acting like Patty McCormack's psychologist character is actually Rhoda from the first movie that is now grown up to become?
Yeah, what a weird meta moment, huh?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So you never know. They give us that little.
Rhoda could have learned to become a better mimic.
Rhoda could have grown up to become a psychiatrist.
It sounds like totally winking at the audience.
Yeah. But, cameos by actors in movies are often kind of like that. And sometimes you don't even know that is a wink, and a nod, to anyone. It's an in-joke. And, not everybody gets it, and it's okay,
Yeah.
Am I the only guy who expected this lady to grab a little dog and say, I'm going to take little Toto to the pound? That's who she reminds me of.
I haven't seen that movie since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Wizard of Oz?
Yeah.
Wow, really? We watch it every so often. Nina's a huge Wizard of Oz fan.
It used to be.
Here she comes.
It used to be on all the time. Yeah.
Every year, for Thanksgiving, I think.
Here comes Daigle's mother, and she's drunk.
She knows all about Christine. She knows all about her and Christine.
Yeah, I think they both were high school,
No, it's because Christine is famous because her dad is rich.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Christine's never noticed this woman in her life, even though they're here,
Mm-hmm.
I thought they might have went to school together.
No.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to mention some other actors, like, the man who plays her father.
Yeah.
The writer, Guess who he is as an actor? He's done other stuff. He was in the classic Star Trek episode, The Menagerie, the very first Doctor in the classic, the pilot episode of the first Star Trek episode, where it wasn't Captain Kirk. It was, it wasn't William Shatner. It was Jeffrey Pike, Captain Jeffrey Pike. And he's the Doctor. He's the first, the first Star Trek Enterprise Doctor.
Are you talking about the Rhoda's dad?
No, I'm talking
Rhoda's
about
grandfather.
Rhoda's grandfather.
Oh, grandpa. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
I think the sad part of this is for Hortense is that her, she's in here like 3 times, but it never resolves
every time.
Yeah,
every time.
She never gets any answers. Nobody ever listens to her or makes any effort to help her.
Well, what can they do? Her son is dead.
Well, yeah, but they start to she starts to understand what's happening, and she still like shoos her out of the house.
Yeah,
but for
also,
different reasons.
It creates this kind of almost like this halo of inaction around her, because, like, 1, she is in pain. 2, her son died. 3, she's drunk. It's like you don't know how to react to that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and that's what's going on this time. But later on, she just wants to cover up for her daughter.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I think the mother at this point is starting to suspect, especially when
her
the
daughter,
school lady comes.
Yeah,
but in the book,
she's connecting dots. There's the other deaths and stuff too. She begins to figure it all out.
Yeah,
right. And in the book, they went to her house. Rhoda and her mother went to Daigle's mother's house,
to Hortense's house.
Yeah, to give her condolences, and that's where this interaction happens. Here, she comes to her house because it gives us more of a confirmation that there's something wrong about that little girl. That's people around her know, and the mom is trying to put the dots together.
Yeah, the kids can tell something's up with her. She's creepy. They don't really like her. She's not got a lot of friends and stuff. And the teachers can figure her out and stuff. Her facade is beginning to crack, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I think the
little girls, we reach a point where you can twist daddy around your little finger to a certain point, and then you get to a point where you can't manipulate him that way anymore, and you have to learn new skills. And this is where some girls will turn into very flirtatious and learn to
sexuality.
They'll learn the power of sexuality. You know, and Rhoda right now, she's too young for that. She doesn't know that yet, but she's in that like 5-year period where she's going to begin to make that change.
And also the actress, I think the little girl actress, she's beginning to hit that age between when they did the play and when they did the movie, where she's beginning to age out of that cute little girl look. You know, there's another movie she made very close after this called, what was it? Some name of a Mary or Mary or Catherine or something like that. And she's just a couple years older, but she's not cute anymore. She's reached that in between stage of puberty and stuff where little girls, some of them were really pretty and cute when they're young, and then they don't look cute and pretty, and then they get pretty again when they're a little older, college age or something, you know.
It does seem like she's like a 12-year-old playing an 8-year-old.
Are you talking about Kathy O?
Yes.
Okay.
Playing a very similar girl, kind of.
Hortense and the teacher. I think the teacher is so quiet and trying to look away from Hortense because she knows that she failed to protect her little boy
miserably. Yes.
Yeah. And that's how it comes off to me. Like there's anger from Hortense towards the teacher as well, because it's like I gave you my kid.
My kid. Yeah.
Right.
Well, they really should have. I mean, they should have seen what was happening. How could they not have followed them down to the docks? I mean, that's crazy.
Or just been riding, on Rhoda a little closer throughout her career at this school, because they had multiple problems, I think,
Yeah.
Look between the women, the two mothers, the piece of artwork between them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's a silhouette. Mm-hmm. It's a mother and daughter silhouette.
Yeah.
And they used to do those. Those were real. People would pose for those.
I know.
And they would make little cutouts.
It's very symbolic there.
Yeah.
I remember doing those in school.
Hortense slapped the air right next to the teacher.
She almost hit her.
Yeah.
And the teacher flinched as if she was hit. She definitely acted as
emotionally she was hit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see why they don't want Rhoda back, for the next semester,
Exactly.
Right, because the teacher's just thinking, "Oh my God, we're going to get sued,"
or she's going to kill another kid.
Yeah. In the 2018 film, McKenna Grace playing Rhoda, she has a scene where there's this award that the school's going to give for empathy or for compassion or whatever it was.
Wow.
And so one of the things she does, and you see
what a difference.
I know. And one of the scenes is her in recess, and she actually pushes and trips one of her own female colleagues, classmates, and she falls. And then she immediately, when everybody looks, she immediately helps
them up to get.
And it's like, and then there's a teacher in the distance. There's this black teacher in the distance, and she's looking at her, like shaking her head, like, "Girl, I saw what you did."
Yeah. I saw you push her down and pick her up.
That's a little on the nose, I think, compared to this movie.
Yeah.
Well, there's other differences. That's the Rob Lowe one, right?
Yeah, the Rob Lowe one, 2018.
So I'm curious because, I don't know that much about it. It seems to me that he's a single father in that one, that there's no mother, that the movie's all focusing on him. He directed it and he's an actor, and maybe he picked that project because it would be a tour de force of acting for him or something.
Sure. Yeah, in the movie, he's a widowed father, and he's helping his daughter, Emma. She's not Rhoda, she's Emma in that movie. And he's helping her cope with tragedy when the classmate drowns at the school. And then, once he finds out that she's a cold-blooded killer, he actually takes her to an isolated cabin. And he gets a confession there. And there's actually a video on YouTube where you see all three confessions from all three.
Oh, yeah, they compare.
From this one, the 85
David
one,
Carradine
and the
one. Yeah, the David Carradine one as well.
And then
David Carradine plays LeRoy.
Yeah. And then when McKenna Grace confesses to Rob Lowe, she realizes that her dad is like tormented and she tries to actually kill him. And then he tries to kill her with a gun, but then the caretaker comes into the cabin just as he's about to kill her. And I'm spoiling the movie, but who cares?
Yeah,
it's a Lifetime film. And then the lake house's caretaker enters the cabin and kills Rob Lowe. He's like, "Oh, what are you doing? You're trying to kill your little girl!" Bang!
Which is like The Omen. Which is like the ending of The Omen.
And the ending of the book, The Bad Seed, which this movie does not respect, the 56 one.
Yeah.
The 2018 one respects because the dad dies, the little girl is saved, and then you see her embracing her aunt after the police take her away, and she looks at the camera and she does a little like smiley. Yeah.
But see, that's like The Omen too. But then also Rob Lowe, they gender bended. They flipped it. Like in other words, it was the mother in the book, right?
Yeah, exactly. Good catch there. Yeah, of course. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which makes it even harder because I don't know. There's always that daddy-daughter kind of thing. Whereas, I don't know. I mean...
So are you saying in the book that the father dies in the book?
No.
Okay.
No, in the 2018 movie.
Right. In the book, the parents are alive.
No, the mother dies at the end of the book.
Except for she dies at the end of the book.
Yeah.
Which is different than the movie.
Yeah. In this one, you think the mother's going to die too because... Spoilers.
She got shot.
She's gonna shoot herself in the head, but it's like
holy cat! She shot herself in the head.
She glanced off her brain, you know.
Yeah, you see her in the hospital with a giant bandage all around her head and around her chin, but she survives.
That is true. Some people just don't know how to kill themselves, and they shoot themselves in the brain pan and they miss. You know.
Yeah. Why couldn't she just also do the sleeping pills?
Right.
The mother just found the penmanship award.
Yeah.
She was getting the necklace for the landlady to have the stone changed. She just found the penmanship award.
Yeah.
In her treasure trove or treasure box or whatever.
Yeah.
Crystallizing the fact that the little boy got killed by her daughter because she wanted the penmanship award, which she foreshadowed.
How could she have the award if she didn't push him off the pier?
I think at this point she doesn't believe that she killed him. I think, but she does know that she lied and.
Right, she could have just driven him to the water and then he died on his own. It could have happened that way.
Yeah,
but then how did he get the moon-shaped marks on his forehead and on his hands?
Well, yeah, we're just not at that part yet.
Yeah.
Right, but when she does figure that out, you see the light bulb go off above her
there's
head.
the medal.
Totally,
Yeah, this is the medal. Yeah, that's the medal that she just found.
So already she's suspicious and she's thinking, what is this doing here, you know?
Right. Here we go.
And it's under the lining of her treasure box.
Yeah.
It's not just in the treasure box, it's under the lining.
Yeah, and she's going to say, "Oh, I don't know how it got there."
Yeah, how could you not?
Yeah.
And of course, the mother finds that when nobody else is in the room, Monica leaves.
Right. But kids say stuff like that, and it's like it's so infuriating.
I know. But what's so funny about this movie and her confronting the daughter, the mother knows she's an accomplished liar. She confronts her at it and says, "I know you're a good liar, Nora, you know, or whatever, Rhoda."
Yeah.
So she knows she's not the perfect little angel she pretends to be.
Right.
Yeah. You can see her. She's starting to breathe really fast, and she's got an angry look on her face, and then she kind of goes like, "Mother."
Yeah, and she's changing the subject. She
goes into her act.
Yeah, she's gonna start banging her shoes together, all kinds of stuff to try to distract her from the line of questions.
Yeah.
And see, that's a sign that like she's immature. Her little 8-year-old mind is not able to cope with the adult. Even LeRoy, you know, her and LeRoy when they were matching wits, you know.
Yeah.
LeRoy strikes me as possibly also a little psychopathic, and I'll explain why. Because he's going to tell her at some point that he's explaining to her how there is no perfect crime, and he's explaining that the cops are going to find blood in your shoes even if you clean them. And it's like, how do you know that, LeRoy? What's your experience with that?
They got stick bloodhounds.
He's coaching her. Yeah, he's coaching her.
He's telling her you should be faking it, crying and acting like, you know, you're really upset and stuff. Like he's cluing her in that what are you doing? Why are you not doing the things right? Like I would. I'm smart. You know, I would have known how to.
And also blackmailing her, which it's very concerning because it seems like he's blackmailing her into.
Yeah, what is he going to get out of it?
Like for them to be Confederates, for them to be cohorts, and for she not to be. Maybe.
Yeah, I got a different vibe out of that.
He considers himself on the level with her. Like LeRoy considers himself in that little girl. Like he's a little smarter than her, and in a couple of years, she's going to surpass him and lord over him like the other women do.
But right now,
he knows he's a little smarter than her.
In fact, he's trying to match wits with her, and he's telling her stuff like the stick bloodhounds and the powder and all that. You know.
Yeah, but it's also another weird thing about that is that he acts like, oh, I was just teasing you before, but now I think you really did it. And it's like, wait, you didn't believe that before? That kind of really caught me off guard because I thought he figured it out a long time ago.
To me, it kind of felt like he was just coming to the realization that, wait, what am I trying to blackmail this little girl for? What am I trying to get out of her? And then he's like, this sounds creepy. I think I should probably just stop.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of like realizing that
comes along and listens to hear any of it, you know.
Yeah.
It's like I can get in serious trouble for trying to blackmail this little girl. People are going to think I'm trying to get something physical out of her.
Yeah.
And also he has to say to the mother, like, I don't have no shoes, you know, when that issue comes up, you know. Mm-hmm. So to adults, he behaves a little differently. When he's alone with her, he goes down to her low level, and they trade insults and they bicker, you know.
Yeah.
He comes down to her level.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the things about, you know, the whole Excelsior and that he sleeps down in the basement and she knows his secrets and she's very rude to him and, you know, treats him like a servant, you know, like dismissive and, you know, like everybody treats him like that, you know, like feels very put upon. But like Nina was saying, and I think one of you guys said too, is that he's creepy. He's a creeper. Like he wants to pick up on the wife, you know, while the husband's out of town.
Be lonely.
Yeah. Like, why would he, you know, like he's a creeper. He wouldn't even make a comment like that in the script, in the film without the audience being clued into, like, he's a creeper. He would rape or, you know, be a peeping Tom. Or
he eyeballs her. You can see it in the scenes when he comes in with his own key.
Yeah.
And she slams the door in his face the one time in the kitchen.
And the lady upstairs is going to fire him if it weren't for the fact that she felt sorry for him and gave him a job, you know, to support his family, supposedly.
Look, this is the unraveling of the confession here. Like, she realized that her daughter is very manipulative. She was just doing that. Oh, I have the best mother, the nicest mother.
Oh, that is so fake.
When she says this is not working anymore, stop it, and she just completely blank face, stone face, goes like, "Okay, mother, okay," and she sits with her back to her, and she looks at the little snow globe, and it's like, "Hey, about that snow globe that she got from the lady that said, I'll put it to you in my will when I die," and then. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
so
she's when are you gonna die
put
again?
The dots together. You know?
Oh,
it's like, oh my God!
Yeah,
her treasure
my daughter
chest
is a murderer. You know?
It's like a trophy case. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And you figure she's just gonna keep on doing it. You know.
And she's actually going to tell her mother, "Well, I threw myself down the stairs on purpose, but it was her fault. She was an adult. She should have taken better protection of herself."
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. No compassion. Nothing.
Which is perfect. It's just like the perfect psychopathic thing when she says that, you know, well, if he had given me the medal, I wouldn't have hit him with my shoe.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, like he chose to die.
Well, and
he
then
didn't do what I said.
And then he climbed back out and was like, well, yeah, I hit his fans with my shoes.
He kept making noise.
Because he said he was going to tell on me.
Yeah.
Right.
And he kept making noise, kept crying and screaming and yelling.
Yeah.
I had to shut him up.
Yeah.
And
it all
you know, it
makes
was
sense.
great. Her performance, when she screamed up out, you know, when she loses her temper, confessing, you know, and she screams out, "What was I supposed to do? What could I do?" And it's like a million other things. You could have done nothing.
I know.
You know, it's like,
yeah. She smacks her fists down on the couch.
You could just
as she's talking.
Get in trouble for trying to take the kid's medal away. Who cares?
Yeah.
But I mean, she just shows her loss of ability to control herself.
Yeah.
You know, she lost it when she killed the little boy. She's losing it now when she admits it and confesses.
Yeah.
Like her ability to scream at that level. You know.
Here's the dad, and the mother. I think writes 3 letters. To their husband, I think in the book. One of them when she suspects that when the little boy dies, one when she suspects that her daughter did it, and one finally before
really?
she, and she never mails them out. She puts them in a drawer.
So they find him after the attempted suicide and stuff.
Yeah.
In the book, she burns the evidence. The mother gets.
She burns them before she gives her the pills. Yeah.
Oh.
I noticed, you know, that I don't know if it's different in the book compared, but she does have a telephone call with her husband, while she's upset, you know, and he doesn't understand what's going on back home. You know, he knows about the death of the little boy. He heard about it on the radio or something.
Well, I learned that packing straw crap is called Excelsior. I've never heard of that before.
Oh, you're kidding.
We have a bag of it.
Yeah, I use it all the time in mold making.
Wait, do you still use that nowadays?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
My friend bought a bale of it, literally like a full-size hay bale that big that you could like sit on. And I still have a big garbage bag full of this stuff. Wow. He gave me a big amount of it.
And we keep it clean in the bag.
Yeah, you use it. It's like you make like little birds' nests out of it, and you dip it in the plaster and apply it to the mold as you're building the mold.
Oh, that's awesome! Instead of fiberglass.
Or you can use fiberglass also, or burlap. You know, it's just all these different things. It makes the mold stronger. You know, gives it fiber, hemp. You know, stuff like that in case it cracks or breaks.
Of LeRoy talking to the little girl.
But it's funny because I don't know if people know what Excelsior is these days. Like you say, it's not always called that. You know, it's called sisal fiber. It's called Excelsior, and it's used as packing material. And so he probably got it. Like the family was probably shipped something, or they had something down in the basement. Like they would keep
her little tea set.
Yeah, they would keep china or something, you know, packed in sisal fiber or, you know, hemp, or what do they call it, Excelsior. Mm-hmm. But that's sort of an old material, like hemp and that type of material. Nowadays, they would use styrofoam or packing peanuts or bubble wrap, you know.
Yeah. Here's LeRoy being a complete jerk.
Yeah.
In the 2018 movie, the person who takes the place of LeRoy is a nanny that Rob Lowe gets to watch over Emma.
Wow, everybody's gender bended in that one.
Yeah, it is. And she's just the real slutty kind of babysitter. She's trying to seduce the dad, and that's what makes Emma not like her. Yeah. And she tells her when she finds out. Yeah, she tells her they're going to put you in a nice little pink electric chair.
Oh, yeah. LeRoy talks about the baby blue electric chair and the pink one for little kids.
Yeah.
They got a special electric chair for you.
Yeah.
And she believes that. Later on, she talks to the mother and says something about, he's going to put me in the pink electric chair, you know.
Yeah.
And LeRoy had it pretty much down pat. He just thought that she hit him with a stick, but it wasn't a stick. It was the shoes.
Yeah.
Shoes with the little taps on them that left the little half moon marks on the hands and the forehead.
Yeah.
And they thought it was from the body hitting like the pier thing. And,
right. Yeah. And she's like, "Oh, I threw those away. I don't like those." And she's like, "I never had any shoes like that before." You know, she's like trying to deny it and stuff.
Yeah.
And then he finds them. They come clattering down the thing, and he gets a hold of them.
Yeah.
And she believes that he's got them, you know.
So
She put him in the incinerator.
I didn't grow up in the U.S., so I grew up in Portugal, and I didn't know incinerators were a thing. So how much of a thing were incinerators?
Well, it's a long time
Well, I think
ago.
in the East, which is
we
where
had a burning barrel.
in the East, you know, which is I think where this is supposed to be. You know, they would have bad winters, and so you know they might have a furnace or an incinerator.
No, it's for trash.
It was only for trash down in the basement, underneath the house. It didn't create any heat.
We had ours outside. We had a burning barrel. Yeah, we didn't recycle. We took all our like where I lived, we had well water, and we had a cistern well and stuff like that, and we had a burning barrel, and all our paper goods, my mom would empty all the waste paper baskets into the burning barrel once a week. And it was like my brother or I, our chore to go light that garbage on fire.
Wow.
So the burning barrel's full. Rick, it's your turn to do the burning barrel. And you got to go and do the fire, and you got to watch it. You got to stand there. You can't just do it and walk away.
And some,
Yeah, our parents taught us to be very responsible, stay there and make sure it's all burnt.
And
Sure.
in the 60s, it kind of switched to more popular to have like a trash compactor under the cabinet.
Yes.
A cabinet
Like
trash
next to
compactor
the
in the kitchen.
dishwasher.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah,
So you
exactly.
compact your trash into a little brick and throw that out?
Right.
Yes.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Because then it would fit in your normal garbage can, you know.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Wow.
But I do remember that people did have furnaces and, you know, incinerators, you know, in the basement. And LeRoy kind of lived down there, you know, even though apparently he had a house. It seemed that she was saying that when he was supposed to be working, he found a way to go hide and sleep, you know, nap when he wasn't supposed to be.
He's holding on to that Excelsior like, hey, I got a pillow for my nap now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And when they find his body and stuff, they report that he must have been smoking, you know, lying in there on a bed of Excelsior.
that's what the guys
and they
think.
think that he burned himself by smoking in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was her.
The old stuffy basement. With all the old magazines and all the old boxes and
Yeah, and oily rags. And
yeah, nude bricks.
And all you got to do is lock them in and burn them up.
Her little drink cart is so hilarious because we have that in miniature.
Really?
I have a dollhouse drink cart exactly.
Yeah, I have a lot
Wow.
of model.
Exactly.
Wow.
I even have one of the booze bottles is the same.
Yeah, I have a lot of model miniature things like little furniture and things.
Then when they used
I
to put
used it in Creature.
when they used to put soda in like a glass bottle and just spritz that into the
Yeah,
cocktail.
everything was
Yep,
decanted.
yep.
Oh yeah, the next time that Hortense comes over and she wheels out the drink cart, she's like, "Oh, look at how fancy that is."
Yeah. I'll take anything you got.
Fancy.
Yeah.
I like bourbon, but I'll take whatever you got. You know, I thought they were going to pull out like a little sherry or something, but she pulls out the drink cart.
Yeah. How about maybe you should have some water?
And then when she pours herself a drink, it's like a big tumbler,
yeah.
like a water glass
Yeah.
full, you know.
This is back in the
I mean,
50s.
I have, you know, drank drinks myself in my life, and I, with one shot or one mixed drink with one shot of straight hard booze like bourbon or whatever, that will give you a buzz. And if she's had several, you
Yeah.
know, and she's going to drink a water glass full of bourbon, you know.
Yeah.
Well, you know, this was the 50s when people drank as therapy.
Yeah. She
So-
didn't take a tranquilizer.
So one of the big changes in the novel to the movie is that in the novel, Rhoda's hair is brown. They made her a blonde, and there's a trope there. The trope is called "hair of gold, heart of gold." So it kind of tricks you into thinking that she's such. Oh, here's a creepy scene where the guy's like
Yeah.
grabbing her braid.
Yeah.
Like this guy's got so many moments that are kind of creepy.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
she does that little robotic flip of her braid back over her shoulder again.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they did that on stage together. So I bet they had lots of opportunities to work out their little body, you know, motions and everything,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be very curious to find out like what the version of stage was like. Like, you know, obviously in the movie, it's very much like a staged version with you don't see the pond, you know, except for at the very beginning, at the very end, you know. But
Yeah.
what I mean is you don't see the picnic take place. You never see the little boy. You know, they didn't hire an actor to play the little boy. You know, there's many things about the theater version that I'm sure they had to do like that as well. You know, like I'm sure there was no little boy. Maybe the only child actor in the theatrical play was this little girl, the bad seed girl herself.
It
Yeah.
kind of bugs me a little bit that when she comes home from the picnic, she's riding a bus, but when she goes back there at the end, you can see.
Oh, she
it.
can walk.
Yeah,
she
it's
can
like
walk.
it's like not even a block. I mean, you could see the lake right.
Well,
if you
not
just-
all children were within walking distance, presumably.
Yeah.
I would
Well,
say.
Well,
she took
they
a
were
bus.
coming back from the lake, right? The lake might have been
Yeah.
farther.
So they
than
would
the
have dropped her off. She would have been one of the first dropped off.
But that's
then, 'cause she
what
was in the
Ryan is
neighborhood.
saying, is that how could she have walked the distance
Oh,
that a
yeah,
bus
yeah,
would
yeah.
have traveled?
Yeah.
Right,
No,
exactly.
because her and her mom walked to the picnic. They didn't
Mhm.
drive to the picnic. They walked to the picnic.
I don't
Yeah, she
remember.
said, right, it's in the
I guess
same
it was just the
neighborhood.
school being safe, just
Yeah.
put them all on
Yeah,
the
it's in
bus
the
and take them home, drop them
Right.
off.
And some of the other children would have lived a little further away.
But that is a good call, Ryan, because it's kind of an incongruity of the film,
Yeah, I mean, that
There's-
ending is just not in the book, and it's kind of a terrible, funny, almost hilarious ending. We'll
Yeah.
get to that. But
Well, and then
I
what
think
they-
it was tacked
yeah.
on. I think
yeah, it was tacked on due to the Hays Code.
Oh,
It's
and
like you
the-
can't have a murderer get away with murder in the movie.
Right.
That's bad.
Yeah, well, and even worse is that stupid thing where with the spanking.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah,
Oh,
to
the
me-
mother, yeah.
Yeah, to me that totally it's like, oh, remember all that all that downbeat stuff we did? Forget all, just give her a good spanking and it'll
Yeah,
fix it.
trying to give them. It's trying to give the audience a feel good movie at the end. That's
Exactly. I think
here's
that
a
they
roll
were
call,
afraid
and we
that
all
people
wanted
would
a
come out of the
spanker.
theater
Yeah.
in a very depressed mode, and they would go home and start looking at their kids with a hairy eyeball and stuff.
Yeah.
So here's Rhoda's grandfather. This is the one you were saying who was in Star Trek.
Yeah, he was the original Doctor
Oh.
instead of Bones.
Oh, there you go. In the novel, he's already dead. The way that the mother finds out that she came from
An adoption.
an adoption is she starts looking into like paperwork that she had, and it's all done by herself in her own head.
I wonder if Dexter kind of took their idea of Dexter being adopted and stuff in that, because it's really similar to what they're talking about in here.
Oh, yeah.
The TV show, yeah.
Yeah.
The psychopath that only
nature
kills
versus
psychopaths.
Yeah, because the
nature
police
versus
adopted him from serial killer
Parentage.
parents.
Right,
Yeah.
He was sitting in the
like
pool
his
of blood.
father was a detective in the police, a homicide detective, and he brought home a foundling from a murder house or something.
And that's
Yeah.
and that also is kind of like saying that it's hereditary, that Dexter.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But
And
the
he
Dexter
trains
book
him-
series, they went a completely different way. They went a way that's like he's possessed by some sort of entity in the later books, and it's just weird.
That's
yeah.
his dark passenger in the book. Oh,
Yeah. But
his father
Robert,
trained him, to be a serial killer.
yeah,
Well, he trained him to point it in the right direction.
in the right
Right.
direction.
Yeah.
To go after criminals that are getting away with it.
Yeah. It's
So
like, I know you're
Freddy-
going to do this anyway, so we might as well make some good out of it.
Right. A paladin.
Yeah.
So Robert Englund once shared this story that when I was 9, I went to a birthday party. We were supposed to see a cowboy movie, but the programming got screwed up, and we saw The Bad Seed instead.
Oh,
Horrifying. For years, I was frightened of girls with pigtails.
Yeah.
Freddy
That's
Krueger
great.
himself.
That might
Yeah.
have saved your life.
That's creepy. It's like, there are many movies that have an innocent character like the Damien in The Omen and stuff. Or, like movies like, have you ever seen It's Alive, which is about a monster baby too?
That
It's alive.
that was mentioned in this in the same chapter, yeah.
Was it? Oh, okay.
But I read about it, but I haven't seen it.
Oh, Rick Baker did the creature of it, the It's Alive baby. I have a little model kit of it. I have a resin garage kit of it.
Really? It's a
Yeah.
74 movie. I'm just looking it up. I might watch that this weekend.
I can see the baby
It's cool.
Oh, musical score by Bernard Herrmann. That's awesome.
It
And special
is?
effects. Yeah, and
It's
special effects
alive?
makeup.
Oh my
Rick
God.
Baker. Oh,
Yeah,
that's-
Rick
that's
Baker did
pretty
the
awesome.
effects. Yeah, it's a Larry Cohen film who's very well known for doing lots of genre stuff, like Q, the Flying Serpent movie, and
Oh yeah.
Oh my God! There's 2 sequels. It Lives Again, 78, and It's Alive.
yeah, there's a
3,
trilogy. There's
Island of the Alive,
Yeah, I know somebody who worked on
1987.
Island of the Alive.
and there's a 2009 remake. Huh?
Wow.
That's weird.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either. I didn't know that they had remade it.
Oh,
Oh, now that he just name checked the movie. They're Bad Seeds.
yeah.
Right. You name very few movies do that anymore,
Yeah.
where they actually bring up the title of the movie in the
Yeah.
film.
I babysat a little girl that we jokingly called her the bad seed. I won't name her because, she can listen. She can
She'll
be one
sue
of my
you.
Facebook associates. But But anyway, the reason we called her that is because she was a very coquettish was the word you would have used.
Cute little girl.
Precocious or coquettish. And she was very like well groomed, the kind of little girl that wanted to pick out her own clothes. And so it was easy to sort of joke around about her being the bad seed. But in all actuality, she was a compassionate little girl, and she did love.
She wasn't the
She
bad
did love
seed.
animals. She didn't try to push.
I was hoping you were going to say some story about she boiling alive her goldfish or something.
No, but because she was a little girl that would have, like, no, you have to brush my hair 100 times to make it soft. You know what I mean? Like,
wow.
Yeah, it's so funny what kids will say sometimes. Like recently, not too long ago, Nina was around some kids because she used to do a lot of face painting at kids' parties and things like that. And there was this cute little girl that was real pretty and had real nice hair and stuff. And she would come up to Nina and say, like, my hair is very shiny, and stuff like that, And she'd say, like, stop looking at me.
There's
I'll do it just like she said. She goes, stop looking at me. My hair is very shiny. But I mean, she just like took a beat and then was like, my hair is very shiny. I don't blame you. I am very pretty.
That sounded coquettish. Yeah. There's also this dark side to kids sometimes. I mean, apart from the obvious bullying that kids will do to each other in school, and sometimes they can be really mean. There's also, things that sometimes kids do because they don't know any better yet. They're not at that stage in their development where they understand this is wrong and you shouldn't do it. Yeah. Like, I'm not talking about pulling the cat's tail or anything. But
no, there's social stuff. Yeah, normalcy stuff.
Or even like things that now we would think of that could be a red flag. Like a kid like burning like bugs with like a magnifying glass.
Yeah.
And at the time,
I did that.
Which was
I know, I did that too. And that's my point. A lot of kids do that. And at the time, we just think, fuck these ants. I'm gonna
lured them into a puddle of Elmer's glue.
Yeah. Well, because as a kid, you're powerless. So you do something that makes you
you want to use your power over something else.
Well, we knew it was terrible. We knew not to get caught. We knew it was a terrible thing to do.
But nowadays we look back at that stuff as like, holy crap, I would never do that. Why did I do that? It's like, I didn't do that for a long time. And
because you're immature, you were a kid.
Yeah.
And I can remember stuff that I did that I didn't know that I shouldn't do when I was a dumb kid too. Like for instance, I always had clay, I played with clay ever since I was like 2 or 3 probably. And one time I offered like a piece of clay in my hand to I was at a neighbor's house to their pet. Their dog, and they saw me like through the window of, the sliding glass door, and they pounded on the sliding glass door and opened it up and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I guess I'm not supposed to feed clay to a dog."
One time when I was a kid, I led some other kids into a neighbor's garage, and we took a bunch of nails and jammed them under their tires.
Oh.
So then they backed out and they all popped. And one of the
hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, and one of the other kids told them,
who did it.
Yeah. So I got in trouble for that. But
of course.
And when they asked me why I did it, I just kept saying, "Well, I didn't think it would work." I just had no concept that excuse. I had no concept that anything that I did as a kid would have any impact on the world around me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why kids put like a penny or a dime on a railroad track and see what happens to it.
Yeah, so, and it's like I didn't even know those people. It's not like I had some kind of vendetta against them.
Right. It's just a random thing that you said, I want to see what happens,
Yeah,
Ramsey Campbell in the
drop things off of buildings and stuff, and you go like, I want to watch this watermelon smash when it hits the ground.
Yeah. I want to throw this water balloon down the 3rd story window. Ramsey Campbell in the chapter of A through Z of Horror says something that I think it's also very appropriate for this novel and this adaptation. He says, I think the notion. He says, I've always been very dubious of this notion of children as evil, says horror author Ramsey Campbell. Sometimes this use of them in a horror genre is actually a way of reading what we don't want to admit about ourselves into a convenient scapegoat.
Yeah.
Because, you put it stark against this framework of innocence, and you like, see how horrible this is? If a kid did it, now imagine a full-grown adult doing it.
Yeah.
How horrible.
Yeah.
And it's very theatrical. It's very theatrical.
Or just, giving the parents the opportunity to wash their hands and say, well, they're born that way. It's nothing I could do.
Yeah. The way the way society treats, criminals and psychopaths and stuff.
Yeah.
When I was in I'm sorry. When I was in college, we were very fascinated with the question of nature versus nurture, and
you get together and talk about it over coffee.
There's been some interesting studies of twins. You can find some studies of like separated twins, and what's interesting is, according to some things I read,
in completely different parts of the world,
twins
or whatever,
that are separated at adoption at birth will grow up a lot more like each other. Like they'll marry a woman of the same name, they'll name their children the same name, they'll maybe go into a similar career,
even though they have nothing to do with each other.
But twins that grow up in the same household will diverge on purpose.
Right. They'll try to
like
look
chocolate,
different.
You like vanilla. I'm more outgoing. They play off each other.
I could see that.
Hairstyles.
They seek out their individuality more because they get tired of people. Like, for example, if I had twins, I would never dress them up the same way, like a lot of people
Except
do.
For when you're doing Halloween.
It's like hard enough to tell them apart.
Except for when they're the twins from The Shining for Halloween.
Exactly. Yeah. So when this movie came out, apparently because people were concerned about copycat behavior, the American Authority banned all children from the movie theaters where The Bad Seed was playing.
Oh.
And when this little girl went to the premiere, at first they didn't want to let her in.
She couldn't see her own premiere.
Yeah. And then she said, no, I'm in the movie. And then they had to come in and say, no, yeah, she's an actress in the movie. Oh, okay. So that's funny.
Yeah.
But then also, I don't know how close we are to the end of the film, but
no, not close.
well, I'm going to spoil it some more. When they were talking, when you guys were talking about how, obviously there's a book and obviously there's a play, and they didn't have to, but the studio, the movie theater company, decided to make some changes, probably, of course, because everything is based on the bottom line, on money, that they thought to themselves, we are going to shoot ourselves in the foot unless we make this film have a happy ending, unless the bad seed has its just desserts, gets some justice from God or something. And also the spanking, like everybody who liked the film's idea and everything, but hated the little girl, they wanted to see her get a spanking.
Yeah.
It's like, well, she already got struck by lightning and exploded or whatever. Do you really need to spank her now?
A bolt of divine retribution.
So.
Yeah. Well, apparently that was kind of improvised. They were doing Patty McCormack said they were doing the roll call at the end, and when Christine's character came out, she wanted the little girl to come out too, and she said, "Hey, come here," and she came in and she grabbed her and put her on her lap and spanked her, and everybody in the studio laughed, and they put that in the movie.
It looked like it was really, it looked like she was really hitting her. I mean, like.
Yeah.
Well, she had all those crinolines
acting.
On. So
I asked Nina, here I am blind, but I don't remember exactly, what that scene looked like. And I was asking Nina, did they make sure that, her panties weren't visible and stuff,
They did, yeah.
The adult actress, she definitely makes sure she's modest. She definitely did.
She covers
one arm is sort of holding her. So
covering it over her butt,
That dress has all those little under
crinolines.
But they got along really well.
She loved her mother, like her daughter.
When they were doing the play in the theater, they even she said in an interview, Patty McCormack, that they even had matching little robes for makeup. So they would just sit next to each other in the chair, and that she was very motherly towards her because she didn't have kids. The actress, and
I've heard that other actresses do that too with children actresses. Like, for instance, like Sigourney Weaver and the girl Carrie Henn that played the little girl Newt, in Aliens, were bonding like that.
Yeah.
I guess it's a common.
What was significant that I was talking about earlier about forbidding kids from going in to watch this movie is that happened before there was the actual official film classification in the U.S. So before that, if a dad wanted to bring his kid to watch like a Western or something, they would just take him in. There was no film classification system
that would keep him out.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember people bringing bassinets, babies in arms to movies.
Yeah, I
didn't
worked.
always get a sitter.
I worked at a movie theater as a projectionist, and the theater that I worked at, we had a little in the back of the very back of the film. I mean, of the theater, there was a little room that had a glass window, and it was like the mother's crying baby room. You could,
Our church
you could
used
go
to have a
sit in
crying
there.
room.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crying rooms were very.
So the mother could sit in there and watch the movie, and it was like audio buffered a little bit from the rest of the theater so that they wouldn't be disturbed.
And listen to all those crying babies.
Well, maybe one or two,
Yeah.
like per screening or whatever.
Yeah.
But, I don't remember myself having noticed a whole lot of mothers with infants coming to see movies.
Oh, we just saw this scene where Christina's talking to her dad about the history of her biological mother, and that she at one point punches her own womb, because
she hates herself for having the baby.
That she carried the seed from her, the murderous
Womb,
mother.
Yeah.
And
if she had not done that, she would have made this hated thing be skipped a generation again,
I wish in this scene she would just come out and said that, that Rhoda was killing people.
Yeah.
She should have told him.
Well, she doesn't want to believe it.
Yeah, she won't admit it even to herself, except for in her deepest heart,
Well, Rhoda already confessed to 2 killings so far.
Yeah.
So as the mother, as a character, her life is in the middle of unraveling that we're watching. Like, she starts off the movie, the well-to-do woman with everything in hand, and by the end of it, her life is completely unraveled.
Yeah.
You know what else? Another movie that I was thinking about had parallels was The Fly. If you remember, or I do anyway, the book, the original French novel about The Fly, and then they made it into a movie, with Vincent Price and David Hedison and stuff. And it's similar, where at the beginning of the movie, it's a woman in an insane asylum who begins to tell the retro backstory of what happens. And then at the end of the movie, you find out that she smashed the head of her husband because he was a fly head, and nobody knows it. And they just think that she murdered her husband, and they don't understand why. And everybody around them is like, they were the perfect couple. They had a gorgeous little boy. Everything was going good for them. And it's kind of like this, like the husband comes back from his military thing, and he's like, what the heck happened? When I left, everything was great.
Yeah. You'd think that having a gigantic squashed head of a fly in the press would tip them off that it wasn't a human. It's kind of a Caligari beginning then, huh? It's kind of a Caligari thing going.
Or Lovecraft. Like, there's a lot of stories of Lovecraft where they begin in the insane asylum, and the guy gives you the flashback of the whole story,
Yeah.
Hi, this is me at the insane asylum. How did I get here? It was a long story.
Here's my diary.
Yeah.
I'm going to read it to you.
Oh, boy. But there's a lot of evil children in movies, and the book mentions a few. I'll just mention a few of note. Yeah. Of course, there's Children of the Damned from 1963.
Oh yeah, which was remade by John Carpenter.
Yeah, Village of the Damned is literally bad seed. Yeah. There's Lord of the Flies, which kind of.
Oh, that's a good example.
Yeah, in the 19th century, people had this idea. I think it was it Henry David Thoreau that believed in the noble savage notion that, if a kid grew up in the jungle and nobody around, he would be a nice person. And then we realized that, nah, probably not. It's just without having a moral compass, it's more of a social construct than anything. But there were these stories of this wild boy who survived a few years in the forest by himself, and then they tried to rehabilitate him back into society and teach him how to speak. And it didn't really work very well, because once you get a certain age, it's kind of hard for you to overcome that stuff, that lack of social construct.
Yeah, being raised by wolves.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Children of the Corn, but I would argue that that's more of a horror thing.
Malachi.
I really don't care for Children of the Corn.
Yeah. Was that you quoting something or
no?
When I visited Kevin Yeager's workshop when he was working on Bloodline, he had just done one of the Children of the Corn movies, and he had a whole bunch of props and stuff left from it, creature effects.
Of course, there's The Brood, David Cronenberg's The Brood.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's
Another
interesting.
bad seed situation, body horror kind of. Oh, here's where the confession session. Yeah, if he had given me the medal, I wouldn't have hit him.
So before she kind of made it sound a little more like an accident, but now it's like, oh, he even tried to climb out and then I smashed his fingers.
Yeah.
Well, he was making too much noise.
Yeah. You understand, right?
What could I do? What else could I do?
And the mother is dressed in black and she's dressed in white.
Yeah.
It's like the mother is almost like in black. She's like mourning. She's like, it's over. Like at this point, there's no coming back. There's no more. Like she's not her little girl anymore.
Yeah.
She's just something that she won't recognize, and it's a monster.
And she doesn't
That's
know what to
weird,
do.
too. It's like,
yeah.
how can you give affection to a child that you know is capable of that?
Well, you can't help it. It's your baby.
Yeah.
It's like a spider. It's like once you know that, you know,
Yeah.
it's like, ew, it's creepy. I can't even hug you anymore, you know?
The reason, what I interpreted the mother's reaction here and what she's going to do next is just that it's not so much that, oh, I can't let other people know that my daughter's a monster. What would they think of me? It's more like, I can't let other people know my child's a monster because they won't believe it and she will keep killing. That's what I got out of it. She's like, how do I stop this? Because she's always going to manipulate people and she's always going to get away with it if I don't do something to stop her.
Herself. She might have a child later herself.
Yeah.
And pass it on.
I've got the prettiest mother and the nicest mother. Right after.
Creepy.
Yeah, right after confessing to murdering.
And that don't work. Her mother is not fooled by that act anymore, you know?
Right.
That's what would make the hair on the back of my neck stand up and my hair, you know, I would just be so creeped out. I'd be like, you've seen movies before that, like that, where like, you know, that movie about where, you know, she's, you know, got a husband who's a wife beater or whatever. And while she's being hugged by him, the audience sees her eyes are like, I'm just creeped out. I don't want him to touch me, you know? And that's how I would feel about, you know, I couldn't hug a child that I knew was a murderer, you know?
Yeah.
And she's not just manipulating her mother emotionally. She's manipulating her mother physically. She's got her hands on her shoulders. She grabs her, she pulls her, she hugs her. Yeah. It's so creepy. She did such a great job, Patty McCormack. Holy crap. That's why That's why she was nominated for an Oscar, I believe. Let me see.
And that's why I think Clive was so impressed too, because me too. Like when I first saw this, it creeped me out. I watched it, you know, like alone in the middle of the night and on a channel, like a Creature Features type movie or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So in 1956, Academy Awards, The Bad Seed. Nominated Best Actress in a Leading Role, Nancy Kelly plays the mother. Best Actress in a Supporting Role, Eileen Eckhart. She plays, who does she play? Eileen Eckhart. Let's see.
Was she the mother of the little boy that died?
Yes, Hortense. That's right.
That was a great part, man.
And Best Actress in a Supporting Role, Patty McCormack, nominated. And Best Cinematography, Black and White, nominated as well. So, the shadows in this movie are amazing, too. The lighting is really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, this was made at the time when, you know, color films were being made. I mean, you know, The Wizard of Oz and stuff was made. So black and white was a choice. You know, they decided to still make black and white movies at this time, you know?
Yeah, well, and it's kind of like not everybody had color TVs, and so it was kind of...
Well, it was made for the theater. It was made for the movie theater first, you know?
Of course, yeah.
But still, you know, like, look at a lot of movies were still being made in black and white. It was like a film noir. It was a choice, you know, like the direction and the lighting and the sets and the costumes, like the way that the mother of the little boy says to her about her clothing, you know, she says something about, you can wear simple, you know, like, because it's classy. Like, in other words, her black and white simple clothing is actually from a very expensive boutique or whatever. And, you know, she's not buying those clothes off the rack, but they are just a simple blouse and skirt, you know, nothing ostentatious. Her class, her taste, her breeding shows.
And the way that the mother Christine just stands there when she sees her daughter premeditate everything and hide the evidence and throw the shoes down the incinerator.
A cohort. She becomes a co-conspirator, you know.
Well, she's just stunned, right? I mean, she's just seeing how did this come out of my womb? You know, this little monster that's hiding everything, making sure that I don't say anything and hiding the evidence. And she's just completely stunned. She's also going to premeditate. She's going to take her child to the doctor and it's going to say, oh, you need some vitamins. And then she's going to go to the pharmacy and say, we're going to get you your vitamins. And then she's going to switch them out for sleeping pills.
Right.
Which makes you think that, wow, she's premeditating
her death, her plan,
murder, suicide, and maybe that bad seed didn't skip a generation.
Right, if she's capable of it, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many ways she could have done it. You know, like she could have just gotten her in the car and driven off a cliff, or whatever. You know, with both of them.
That would definitely have been more dramatic for the movie theater. Yeah. Take them all to Griffith Park or something like that and drive a car off the ledge.
Yeah, and the dumbness of shooting herself before her daughter was actually dead. You know, she should have checked her pulse but then shot herself. You know. It's
just such a horrible act that I guess she's lost in the horribleness. Yeah.
Yeah.
But good performance. I mean,
Nancy Kelly also won a Tony Award in '55 for Best Actress in a Play.
On the theater version.
Yeah. When she's upset, she makes this like trembling voice, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. I noticed that when her father was there, you know, like she is pulling off a great performance throughout, you know, the performance, like her father and her and that other man who comes there. Was he the one that was Mr. Drucker from Green Acres? Nina, check your notes. Anyways, I kept noticing certain character actors and saying to myself, like, oh, that guy was in, like how the guy from Star Trek was the doctor, you know. There was
by the voices.
And the voice, like on the radio, you know, of LeRoy, you know.
Frank Cady. Henry Daigle, he was Mr. Drucker in 4 different shows.
Yeah, like in other words, that actor who played the father of the little dead boy, you know, I recognized his voice, and I was like, that guy sounds familiar, you know. And it turned out he was Mr. Drucker from Green Acres and from Petticoat Junction. And the father, you know, the military father. He was the detective on Perry Mason, like on the old black and white Perry Mason show with Raymond Burr. He used to be the Paul Drake, who would be sent out on all their investigations.
I used to watch that all the time when I was a kid.
Yeah. Go back and look at him.
Oh, that's nuts. Yeah.
I mean, he'll be coming up at the very end. You know, he comes with her to the hospital and all that. Where are we?
She's saying, "Better give me those shoes," and LeRoy is backing up.
So LeRoy's still alive.
And he hasn't actually found the shoes yet. He was just kidding.
Yeah,
now he's realizing, holy crap,
they are in the furnace.
Holy crabapple! She did throw away the shoes.
It's amazing how stuff doesn't really burn up. You know, it's like it takes a huge, intense heat for a really long time to burn stuff up completely to ashes. Like even human bodies. Like we watched this one YouTube person who's a cremator and mortician and stuff, and they talk about things like that. And it's like the human body cannot be burnt completely up. You're always going to have some pretty big chunks of bone and stuff left over.
Shoulder and hip left.
Yeah.
What's that lady's name?
So the shoes would not have burned up. The metal wouldn't have burned up. There'd be some slag of metal in there even if it got hot enough to melt.
There's anecdotal evidence of that when Percy Shelley died in that ship crash, and they cremated him on the shores of the lake where he died. They cremated his body, and then I think it was his heart was the only thing that stayed because
didn't burn up.
Yeah, and they gave it to Percy Shelley's wife.
Mary Shelley.
Yeah, Mary Shelley.
Here's the charred heart of your husband.
I know, man. It's it was the romantic period, right? So
that's pretty wild.
Yeah, Mary Shelley's favorite keepsake, her dead husband's heart.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
some people keep relatives around, on the mantle and stuff.
So now he's finding the shoes in the furnace. So maybe now's not the best time to take a nap on your Excelsior.
I think even he got a little surprised that he actually was right, and that as soon as he started seeing that she got so upset and triggered over him teasing her about the shoes, like, oh, I got the shoes, because she said and then all of a sudden she gets so mad. He's like, well, maybe I'm onto something. Maybe she did kill that kid with his shoes.
Yeah.
Holy crap! He just grabbed the shoe from the furnace and looked at his hands and threw it back in there, like, oh crap, I'm leaving fingerprints all over it, right?
Yeah. Also, it's for sure now he sees that moon-shaped mark,
Yeah.
The funny thing is that, there's so many things that are done in this movie that are just like characters, are dumb. Like he's dumb. Like, in other words, like you say, why would you risk, when there's a little murdering little girl around, who you've confronted with already, and she's got it in for you. Go to sleep on this Excelsior behind the furnace.
Yeah.
Go home.
Well, and right now he just got some suspicion on him because he was caught yelling at this little girl. Maybe it's time to just finish up your work and go home.
For the day, at least. I mean, it kind of comes off, I think, the average viewer. I mean, we watched this film at least a couple times right before we did the podcast. And, I think the average viewer may not have caught that he doesn't actually live in the basement. And I think because he has that bed down there and stuff, it's sort of, I mean, I remember the first time I watched it, I came away from it feeling like he lived down there.
Yeah, there's only one line that he's a family man that makes you, well, and also that Rhoda says you're lazy, and she tells him he's lazy. And,
you should be doing your work instead of
and he
sleeping.
sleeps behind the furnace.
Guys, it's Leroy's jerk-off basement.
Yeah, he's got a box of porn down there.
There's a stack of magazines where he takes a nap.
Freddy Krueger, the early.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah,
Freddy Krueger in the making.
Imagine Robert Englund watching that and then playing Freddy Krueger.
I'm going to get a
20
job
years
as
later.
a janitor in a school.
Yeah, and I get thrown in a furnace.
Yeah.
But TV Tropes has one of the tropes in the movie says, even evil has standards. In spite of readily admitting he's a mean and uncaring man who likes to get under a little girl's skin just for kicks, Leroy is genuinely disturbed when he realizes the kind of person Rhoda really is. He's a sociopath too, but even he recoils at murder. So
wow,
that's one of the tropes.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. And he's going to be the only murder that we actually see Rhoda do, because we never saw her do anything to the little kid.
No, we didn't see her do this one either.
Well, she did it though.
Because she grabbed the matches. That's the
but
only...
we see her going out with the matches. So
yeah.
And then later on, she admits to her mom, that she locked the thing and she pushed, she.
But it's the most disturbing. It's the most disturbing thing, because she's playing the piano while they're like, "Hey, there's what you."
Yeah, you can hear him screaming in death.
Man's burdened to death, and she's playing the piano, and it's just this emotional crescendo where the music gets louder and louder, till the mother's banging on the door.
I love that. I think that's a very, from a purely audio point of view, it's a very creepy sound design sort of choice. Like the music, and the guy who did the sound design and music for this movie is a character unto itself, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And who's
the
coming
music
in?
that she plays that piano? It's really creepy.
Yeah. Only Hortense would ring the doorbell like that.
Yes. That's typical drunken doorbell ringing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the first time she comes over, she falls down. They have like a little step inside their front door,
Yeah. That's the indication that's like, oh, she's drunk.
Yeah.
And here she looks down to the steps so she won't stumble.
Right, because she fell down once before. She remembers it.
Yeah.
There's a great confrontation here.
Yeah.
Between these women.
Is this the time when she lies
This is
down
her
on the couch?
second visit.
When
No,
she
this
lies
is
on
her
the couch?
second visit.
Is that the third time when she lies
No,
on the
that
couch?
was the first time she already did it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is when she's going to actually see the little girl and said, "Here she is."
Oh, yeah, she wants
Yeah.
to hold her in her lap, she said, you know.
She asked for a drink this time.
Any old thing you got laying around. Some bourbon, maybe.
Yeah.
Gasoline.
Yeah.
Chanel #5. I don't care.
Yeah.
Some mouthwash.
She never really gets any answers, and nothing good happens for her. And at the same time, it's like the ending of this movie is kind of forced. Also, it's like they really painted themselves into a corner making this movie, I guess.
I think so. I mean, it's such a touchy subject.
Yeah.
And, I think that the Broadway performance, the level of acting that was required to make a believable performance from a little girl and stuff with the audience, 5 feet away from you and stuff, was such an impact, that they were just blown away,
Yeah. Yeah, and then they had to undermine it with, they get struck by lightning and the spanking thing at the end.
Right. I think Hollywood was playing it safe.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a couple 100,000 people saw the production on stage, but 1 million will be seeing it or more in time on the theater, in the movie theater,
Another bad seed that works a little bit more on the side that Nina mentioned earlier, the which uses her sexuality, is Nabokov's Lolita.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's like it's not like, I'm not saying that she's to blame, but she is definitely using her sexuality to get what she wants out of the other guy.
Yep. And I think that's what Clive is also, in other words, all these points are parts of why Clive liked it, would mention this.
That's the kiss of death. She didn't want to hug her. She wanted to actually strangle her. You can tell.
Yeah.
It's so sad, that mother, because the story is that she had a baby late in life when she was thinking she was never going to have a child.
Yeah.
And she found love. She married, her husband, Mr. Drucker.
Both older,
Yeah, when they were both in their 40s or something. She it was like had a miracle baby, probably right at the cusp of when she couldn't have a child anymore, and she did. And he was her only child, and she's not going to be able to have any more, I
can't help wonder if this doesn't have anything to do with, because this is like around the time when America was dealing with a baby boom, and there were a lot of people having kids, and there was a lot of anxiety about people becoming parents, and this movie probably didn't do anybody any favors.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, this is the time when Dr. Spock was known, because of, the baby, theories and books and stuff. And I mean, there's a lot of tropes that come from this movie and from the rest of other, movies and books and plays and stuff about these kinds of subject matters that we now take for granted in movies. Like, ironically, I was at a convention, a Walker Stalker convention for zombies and stuff. And Robert Englund was there in person, and he was up on stage, and he was mentioning, somebody asked him, what movies have you seen or whatever? He mentioned The Babadook, which is another child movie, and I hadn't heard of The Babadook, and just him mentioning it made me seek it out, know, so.
I heard so much about that movie. I've seen trailers and videos of it, but I haven't seen it yet, and I really want to watch it. Yeah.
I was able to catch most of it right before I lost my sight completely, but I didn't finish it. I got to a point in it where I was like, I'm not that interested. There's something else is distracting me. I never did go back and finish it.
It's not. Yeah, I think it got a lot of praise, but it didn't do a lot for me when I watched it.
Okay.
The thing I heard about it that sounded really cool was I think Guillermo del Toro was an executive producer or something, and they made the book for the Babadook, this really cool art produced original book for the prop in the movie, and then they made certain amount of them that could be gotten a hold of by fans, by people. I think it was either through Etsy or some weird thing like that. I heard something about it. You could get a copy of that book from the Babadook.
That's awesome. Because it's a children's book, right?
It's like I think the premise of it, it's like a personification of grief, or it's like a monster, made out of someone's grief.
The novel for this movie originally stated that this happened in Baltimore, so there was this kind of southern feel to it. And in this movie, I think it takes place in Wichita, so that's Kansas.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
well, the when was Lizzie Borden? I don't.
Oh,
That
was
was
like the 1800s,
in England,
I
right?
think.
Oh, okay.
No, America. No, that's
Was
America.
it?
Boston, I think. Yeah, Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks.
Yeah.
And did she really? Because I've heard a lot in the later years that
Well, they made a TV movie with Elizabeth Montgomery at one point,
arguing that she might have been innocent. That it was more like convicted in a court of like public opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were several trials back in the day like that. You know, like the Lindbergh baby kidnapping and crazy shit. You know.
Sure. Oh man, her wailing going out the door, it's like heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was telling you, this is, like as far as
tour de force performance.
These two women where she suddenly realizes that Christine doesn't have it all together. She looks Christine in the face and realizes, wow.
You have all the money and you have a beautiful house and a gorgeous little daughter and everything, but you're not happy,
Yeah.
So it's not all, prim, roses, bed of roses just to be the rich, person.
And of course, we can't help but mention Wednesday Addams as completely based on the Rhoda character, because she's also like, she's got the dark hair, the pigtails. She's like the anti-Rhoda, but she's like a fun Rhoda, right? She's like, she's
a goth. She's
a goth. She does bad things, but she does bad things to punish,
she's emo. She's the emo Rhoda.
Yeah.
And she takes over the play of Thanksgiving.
That's a good point. I wonder, that was a 60s show, right? So it was
Addams Family, the black and white Addams.
I'm talking about the movie with Christina Ricci playing Wednesday. But yeah, sure.
Well,
the TV show is also like that.
The deadpan performance of both, just the character of Wednesday in general. That she has like a severed head doll that's Marie Antoinette and stuff.
Yeah.
She carries around with her. She's depressed all the time.
I'm getting a lot of.
She seems depressed. She's probably not depressed.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of good movie recommendations, like It's Alive and the Babadook. I want to watch that. I want to watch that this weekend if I can.
They're out there. I think they're on Netflix and stuff, or they were. I mean, back when I was cited.
Netflix has turned into so much like TV shows now that it's hard to find movies on it anymore.
Yeah, and about more than half of it now is just the stuff they actually do themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, Netflix original series or whatever.
Yeah, it's hard to. You think back, it's like, they started out as just they would mail you DVDs.
Yeah, 10 years ago, they were fighting it out with Blockbuster for the home video market.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that so much. I mean, I worked for video stores. I was a movie theater projectionist. I used to be a huge, after I worked at video stores, I still got tons of DVDs and videos all the time, VHSs. Nina was like a, VHS widow. Like I would go to these huge video stores that they have here in San Francisco and stuff and be in there for like an hour or more, just poring over the shelves, making notes, writing things down, and she would be like, "Are you done yet?"
Oh man, the poor guy is burning in the basement.
Oh, here's the big fire in the basement scene, Ed.
Where he screams.
And we watch their faces as they see him run out.
Yeah, we don't see it, but we see their reaction.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder what that was like in the theater. Like, did you just hear the screaming of the actor off stage?
Oh, it must have been. Yeah, it must have been off stage.
Must have been creepy.
Yeah, exactly, for the play. Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if they could have actually done any sort of off-screen, like I did a lot of theater, when I was in college. Or what if they had a flame effect off camera? Just off to the set, off to the corner of the set,
like a flickering light or something.
Yeah,
maybe
like that fake on-stage fire.
That would have been a great idea for a play. Yeah, that would have been a great idea. You got the techie mind going on.
There's so many things that you can not do and do, with movies and theater, like Dracula, like you were talking about, like the stage production. I worked on a stage production of Dracula one time, and we had a guy turn into a bat. We had, a Dracula on stage get staked, various effects.
The original Broadway play of Dracula, I know this from watching so much stuff about that because I'm obsessed about Dracula, the Universal movie. But they mentioned that in the original Broadway, when there's a scene where they finally stake Dracula and he would blow into dust, what they did was there was a double. The coffin had a secret compartment full of dust, and when they act like they're going to stab him, they would open the trap door, and he would fall into the second compartment, and he would kick up the dust, and that's how they would just make it disappear into a cloud of dust.
That's cool.
Isn't that clever? And what's cool is that a lot of this stuff, like live stage theatrical versions of stuff like Grand Gingold and that version of Dracula were magicians, like George Méliès, one of the first filmmakers, was a magician, and they used their magic tricks, their stage theater magic tricks in film as well, to create the effects. And then Coppola, of course, went back to some of that for his version of Dracula as well.
Oh, here's the confrontation where she was hitting on the door as the little girl plays the piano.
Yeah.
You could actually tell that. Yeah, you could actually tell the door was a set because she bangs on the door and the door kind of bulges inward. You can see the door going like wobbly. That's just, she's just completely emotionally drained in this scene.
Yeah.
And I mean, who can forget? I mean, for me, the big case of killer children was back in 1993. You remember those two kids that lured a younger
shotgun their parents?
The brothers?
No, in England, the two
they killed
kids
the boy
who
that was kind of blamed on Video Nasties. That one?
No, I don't know if it was that, but it was James Patrick Bulger. It was a 2-year-old boy who was abducted, tortured, and killed by two 10-year-olds, Robert Thompson and John Venables. They led him away from a shopping center into like a railway tracks.
It's the one.
And they tortured and killed him. And they were the youngest.
They blamed it on Video Nasties, they said.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, because later on, Video Nasties were a big thing in England. They kept banning certain films like Evil Dead and stuff like that. And they said that things like that murder were blamed on Video Nasties.
But man, that went around the world. I remember in Portugal, we heard the news and everybody was like on the newspapers reading about it. And everybody was horrified how two 10-year-olds could have done something like that. And it was terrible. And they didn't grow up to be functional adults either. I mean, they got sent to prison. They got paroled. One of them went back to prison again for having child abuse images on his computer after he was an adult. Jeez. So, yeah, it was terrible. So those are two bad seeds right there.
And, that whole thing of like what we remember from news and stuff like that, like I was thinking what you were about to talk about was perhaps the Menendez brothers.
That's what I was thinking of too,
with shotguns, they blew their parents away.
Horrible.
And they weren't that young, though. They were like teenagers at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were fully grown. So I remember that very well. And I remember thinking, you guys, you could have gotten your own, you just move out and wait your parents out.
They could have inherited,
if your parents were really, if it was true what you said and they'd been abusive, then just, you're an adult now, just extricate yourself from the situation and wait them out. Yeah. You don't have to kill people and go to jail.
Yeah, unfortunately, these people don't work that way. That's the whole thing. Yeah.
That's what a reasonable person would do.
This scene is so creepy because it makes you think, from Rhoda's perspective, she thinks, oh, now I'm finally bonding with my mom. She's helping me, she's helping me cover up my murders and now I can tell her the truth finally and stuff.
And her face has a confused look, though. When she's like grabbing the pills, she looks at her mother and looks at her hand, and there's like this puzzled expression, like, "Really? Okay." And then she starts
100%.
Yeah, because why do I have to take so many vitamins?
Yeah.
It's new. They're new.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Monica.
Yeah, Monica.
They did a foreshadowing. She gave her vitamins the night before, or a couple nights earlier.
Yeah.
They're new vitamins.
At bedtime. Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Monica gave her sleeping pills that she replaced as the vitamins.
Yeah.
Because she saw that she was so distraught. It's like, here, have some of my sleeping pills to calm you down. Which,
I think she mentioned what kind they were. They were heavy duty, like Dextrol or,
Yeah. Monica gave her both sleeping pills and vitamins. And she made a big show of the mom makes a big show of saying, "I'll keep them separated."
Yeah.
Right. Foreshadowing.
Yeah.
This
And there again
kiss
is
of
that
death
argument
here.
of mom.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, the one person this dumb child, 8-year-old kid trusts in the world is her mother. You know?
If you're going to manipulate a manipulator, you have to out-manipulate him. That's what she's doing here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like her, I love you, and give her a hug. And, and she might not be lying. I mean, she really
Does love her, yeah.
she loves her. That's why
As
she's doing
much as
this
she's
in her
capable
twisted
of.
way. Yeah.
As the both of them, if they're both mentally ill, the mother having been born from the mother, another DNA from a psycho herself, then she may not be fully capable of love either. Who knows?
There's a TED Talk from a doctor, a scientist, who was working on studying genetic markers for psychopaths. And he was looking at he was trying to see if there were like genetic markers or brain lesions or something like that. And he discovered some interesting things about that certain areas of the brain in psychopaths are dark. That means they're not working. And he discovered that. And then they were doing a blind study one day, and he had a bunch of like people from his own lab also mix some stuff in. They all did the same test, and he came across one that didn't have any name. Of course, it was a blind thing. And he was like, oh, look, this guy for sure, his brain is not lighting up in these areas. And then he discovered later that it was his own test. And he discovered he himself was a psychopath. Wow. And he started doing TED Talks, and he started talking to his family and his friends. It's like, hey, I just discovered I had a genetic marker for psychopathy.
Had he ever acted out, or did he ever?
And his friends did tell him, oh, I'm not surprised, because they just told him, yeah. Even though he never did anything wrong, he never hurt anybody because he had a good nurture, he had a good mother, he had a nice, happy family, so he never really had the abuse that kind of triggers these things in most of these serial killers. You find out that they were sexually abused, or like his mother used to slammed his head against the wall, or
Jeffrey Dahmer wasn't abused.
Or some other guy.
He's very specifically said he wasn't.
Okay.
He said, don't blame my family for this.
Right. Or some guy who fell and hit his head, like John Wayne Gacy or whatever.
Has a brain problem.
And these things all together with the genetic markers, and along with psychological or physical abuse, they change things to a genetic level. And not just the markers will get these genes that get methylated if someone has a lot of physical abuse. It kind of changes you to the genetic level, and that it predisposes you to have this dysfunction, not just in your brain, but your genes. And your brain doesn't have those areas that have empathy, compassion,
doesn't have the same
the moral compass that we refer to it as a colloquial thing. So this guy ended up discovering he had the psychopathic marker, but he never really acted on it because he had a nice nurture. Yeah. But his friends were like, yeah, but you don't. Sometimes I would tell you the story about something bad that was happening, and it'd be like, oh, yeah, okay. Well,
you don't care.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's go out and want to go play some tennis or something. It's like, he didn't really respond to it the way that some friends understood as normal.
There was the gunshot.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, yes. But I had a friend like that when my mom passed away. That's what you kind of discover. Which of your friends is missing a bit of a warm
soul.
And a friend that I was shocked at.
Yeah, it was the day her mother died, and she told her about it. She was just like, "Oh, I'm so pass the salt, will you? Or whatever."
But that's the way. Yeah, I just was like, well, some people just aren't capable. They're just not capable. It's okay.
Yeah.
Well, your wife shot herself in the head, but she survived.
Yeah. Yeah, I like how he is asking her father, you had a dinner with her, like what did she say? Did she say anything? I mean, you must have, had some sort of heart to heart, and he just can't figure it out. He's like, when I left, things were great, like the way the daughter treats him and everything,
Yeah.
And the way you look at the movie, kind of like a play sometimes. The play happens almost in real time, most plays. But in this movie, I mean, how long do you think this has been going on? Do you think this is like
a week,
a couple of days?
About a
week?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a week. Okay. Yeah.
But still, that's not very many days, to go from the death of the little boy to the death of the mother and the little girl,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him put a package in the mail, and then we saw them open it, so that's like probably a week there too.
Right,
Yeah.
at the time.
But it's kind of a short. It seems fast, I think.
Yeah.
But the music is very good. I mean, I'm just so impressed with the, from a purely audio person now, point of view, I was just like going like, wow, like I didn't really notice it so much the first time. And when I was sighted, seeing it, it's very striking as a black and white film. It's very interestingly photographed and camera angles and things like that. And the use of the sets and everything, costumes, all that kind of stuff. But audio-wise, just the lightning and thunder. Like I was thinking to myself at the end, with all the lightning and sounds and stuff, I was thinking, that does not sound like lightning and thunder I've heard in 100 other movies. Like, how you see horror movies and they always have lightning and thunder and there's sound effects records and stuff. It sounds very familiar when you've heard it again and again. Not in this movie. This movie sounds like gunshots blowing up and the lightning and thunder does not sound like your typical lightning and thunder.
Yeah. Of course, in the book, she actually dies. Christina dies. She goes through this research that she goes to the library to research about killers and stuff. And she says she's writing a book, but she's actually looking at research about whether her daughter
and herself, her own mother.
I think in all the versions, the daughter lives and the mother dies, except this one. I think it's the only one where the daughter dies.
Which is creepy, because it makes you think like, okay, does that mean that she was going to go on and maybe marry and have children of her own and the bad seed would continue,
And in the book, the guy says to the dad, like, oh, as bad as things are, look at the good things. You still have Rhoda.
Yeah, you still have your daughter.
Yeah. Monica says that.
Yeah.
But if he stays in the military, it's like Monica may become her sort of co-guardian or something, and who knows how long Monica's got.
Just a couple of days, she was already planning on
birds.
Yeah, those birds.
She already had a plan to go up on the roof with her.
Yeah.
It's like that story in Capricorn 1. It's like, don't tell me that my mom died like that. You got to tell me slowly, like, like how you tell me that the cat died. Like first, the cat's up on the roof, and then when you tell me my mom's dead, you got to tell me like, well, your mom's on the roof.
Actually, the 2018 movie, it starts with the little girl doing her homework, looking out the window, and she sees a cat drowning in a fountain, and she goes back to doing her homework.
Oh.
And then the next scene, she's having breakfast with her dad, Rob Lowe, and she says, "Oh, by the way, there's a dead cat in the fountain." And that right off the bat, it's like hitting you in the face with a bat right when you were starting the movie. Like, yeah, she's got something going on.
And she's gunning for the empathy award.
Yep. I think she kills the boy in that movie over a civics award or some sort of medal, but she also wanted to get that empathy award. That's why she pushes her little classmate.
And since it's a modern film, they obviously contemporize it,
Yeah. But it's almost like this part at the end. It's almost a little bit like I was expecting them to do the same they did with Psycho, bring a doctor in to explain. Well, there are some kids who are just bad seeds.
Yeah.
It's called a psychopath, and those people have no empathy.
What I was also thinking about was that this movie is one of those movies, that is made early enough, that there's so many other movies now that have got the same tropes, where, the nature versus nurture, like all these ideas, these concepts, are pretty universal. And people, I mean, if you think about it, the movie has very small story. It starts, it takes place in 4 or 5 days. It starts with the death of the boy, pretty much right off the bat almost. And, boom, it's over. It's like there's not like nowadays you might have a movie with like 4 or 5 other characters and, 3 other storylines kind of interwoven. I mean, they have much more complexity. Like what was for instance, the modern one with Rob Lowe, he's a single father. They add that trope in there too. They throw in not just this stories tropes, but they mix in all these modern tropes as well. Cell phones, all that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. They would have cameras and stuff. I want to point out that the little girl in bed, she's holding a doll that's like half her size, but it's also a doll with the same hairdo with pigtails. And it's almost like a reflection of how much of an empty husk she is, how much of a blank slate she is.
Like the creepy talking Tina doll from the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. So it makes you wonder at the end of the movie, what's going to happen to the mom? Are they going to put her away in a mental institution? How's the dad going to come to grips? He's eventually going to find out that something's gone wrong with their daughter because, makes you wonder what's going to go on from here.
Yeah.
Yeah, is the mom broken for good? Like, is this going to be, like in Psycho or in, an H.P. Lovecraft story where she's going to live in the insane asylum for the rest of her life?
Sent away, and then he would quietly divorce her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
not my problem anymore.
A year or two of keeping up appearances and visiting her until you could get away from it.
Here comes the scene that you brought up, Ryan, that she's going to get up out of bed in the middle of the night and she's going to put on little galoshes and her little waterproof
and she
rain suit.
She goes out the front door and looks to the right, and there's the pond right there.
Yeah, it's pissing down, as they say.
It's just very
thunder
contrived.
And lightning. Would any kid go out in a huge thunder and lightning storm like that? Nina is deathly afraid of lightning and thunder.
I wouldn't. Not all kids are afraid of it. Some kids aren't afraid of lightning.
Well, obviously, she's not afraid of getting caught for murder. Yeah. She's not afraid of thunder and lightning. She's just going for the dang pin. Yeah. She's risking her life in the middle of the night just to get the stupid pin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is more important than murder. Even now, that's crazy.
She has no fear. She has no fear. She has no emotions.
Remorse. She has no emotions. She has no compassion, no empathy.
Like that kid in Special Books for Special Kids. He's like, I just, as soon as I get into a situation, I create my own personality on the spot. For that situation, to
help me to be the best that it can be for me.
Yeah, it's strange thing.
It's the Al Franken decade.
And he slept in his full dress uniform.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. He even has his belt and his pants on.
Yeah.
And his button shirt.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
His shirt's still even tucked in.
His boots on.
Yeah.
You know the Rob Lowe one when you were commenting about the cat in the pond and the fountain?
Yeah.
Joe?
Uh-huh. Yes.
Nina was seeing that part too, and she was talking about it, and I was saying, well, I mean, okay, did she tie a rock to the cat and jump it into the fountain and then run in the house real quick and get up in her window and look out and watch the cat drown? Because Nina was explaining that the cat is dying on screen, and she's up in the window looking through the glass.
Yeah, it's not climbing out of the water. It's struggling under the water.
So she tied a rock to it or something, and I'm thinking, well, how did she get up to the house real quick? You have
to,
did she?
Dump the cat in the pond and walk right into the house and upstairs and look out the window. Because if you stand by the pond, you're going to get caught.
Right. I guess I'll have to watch that.
Did they find a rock tied to the cat later, I wonder?
I didn't watch the movie. I don't know. But hey, she had
to kill it because she couldn't get a second cat.
Oh, yeah, like Nina's nephew.
He thought, when he was little, he thought if he got rid of the first cat, he could get the second cat.
He wanted a new cat.
He didn't understand his parents.
He wanted a different type of cat, a different breed. And so he wanted to get rid of his current cat.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that's terrible.
He was just 2 or whatever.
But
he was a bad seed.
Kids are like that.
And here we go. She's going to try to get the little pin, and God's going to smite her.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, now, I mean, come on. That is obviously what is happening here.
Yeah, and
it's God.
That pole is like a lightning rod, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll call it that.
And I love the sound effects. It's like,
kaboom!
Wow, that's like a cannon or something,
And she explodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing left. There's like some boots smoking when they come out for and the pin.
And then the camera goes up into the branches of the tree and says, "The end."
Yeah.
And hold on a minute. They
What?
don't want you to leave. Don't go to
Just-
the lobby just yet.
Yeah.
Good cast is worth revisiting.
Yeah.
It's like the Marvel post-credit sequence.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
don't leave the theater after the credits roll.
Yeah, I really don't like this.
Well, yeah,
That's
see,
a-
this is why
it's a
when The
holdover.
Exorcist came out in theaters, it was such a people couldn't believe it because, you know, the lights come up and you're just sitting there like, what the hell did I just watch?
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
And here
that's-
they're like, it's okay, everyone, it's okay, it's okay.
Look,
Everyone's
Kumbaya.
okay.
Yeah, it's like they have to explain to everyone that movies are just pretend. Look, see, these are
Right.
these are
Exactly.
actors. Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why the theatricalness of it and the over-the-top,
Yeah.
sort of performance like you would see in a theater of a play, was sort of okay for this particular production.
Oh yeah, even Patty McCormack comes out and she curtsies just like
Yeah.
in the theater.
Just to let us know that if you see this kid on the street, you don't have to get on the other side of the street and walk the other way.
It's like,
Yeah.
you bad girl, here, I'm
Yeah,
gonna spank you.
God.
Bam, bam. And they're all both laughing.
Yeah. Har, har, har.
And then
Tongue
you've just seen a
firmly
motion
planted
picture
in cheek.
And then
whose theme
please don't
dares to
talk.
be different, to be startlingly different. May we ask you not divulge the unusual climax of the movie.
Right.
It's like
This is what they used to call showmanship. They would ask
Yeah.
you to, like, don't enter the theater in the middle of Psycho. Like they would
Yeah.
not allow you to go in
Oh.
unless it was at the very beginning.
what
You know,
Clive
and-
Barker
and
did.
not to tell the ending of anything.
Yeah.
Like
Is that
someone
Clive
coming
did?
out and what was that?
What did you say, Joe? I mean, Ron, about what Clive?
like Clive Barker did that. He went to see Psycho and he went in the middle of it, and then they stayed so they could see people's reactions to the mother, in the chair.
Uh-huh.
I see, yeah.
You mean Clive ruined the original version of seeing Psycho for the very first time? He didn't get to see it from the very beginning the way you're supposed to?
Yeah. But that got him in. But that one screening got him interested in horror because he saw the effect that had on people.
What, you mean that
course.
was one of the first films he ever saw that was horror?
Yeah.
Wow, you mean he didn't see Hammer films and stuff first? I'm surprised. If you live in England,
We'll have to revisit that quote.
Yeah.
That was the bad
That was
scene.
fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Very creepy movie. I really enjoyed watching this for the podcast, and I was like, wow, this for 56 is actually it's not that tame. There's a guy burned alive. There's like
it's
kids
kind of
killing other kids.
transgressive. I can
Yeah.
see why Clive found it fascinating,
Yeah.
And it opened up the door for a whole bunch of like other movies with killer kids, right? Like
And just the concepts, the tropes of like
Yeah.
the Babadook and the Omen, and just the fact that you can even think,
Carrie.
and consider that
Yeah.
a kid could do this evil.
Oh, I was rooting for the Babadook in that one.
Oh yeah, and I think everybody was rooting for Carrie.
I liked Carrie.
Sure, yeah.
Brian
Yeah.
De Palma is a very good filmmaker,
Um,
and Carrie, the actress. Oh my God, Sissy Spacek! What a great performance!
Oh yeah,
I know.
yeah, amazing.
Yeah. But
her
to
mother,
me,
her crazy mother.
Yeah.
Lord of the Flies,
that's
I saw that on
brilliant.
TV, and it's like
That is
those
a
kids are
brilliant one.
shipwrecked, and then it's so realistic. I mean,
Yeah.
And
To
there's
me,
multiple productions of that one too, I believe. In
there are,
perhaps
yeah.
2000 and the 2000s as
I've,
well.
I've only read the book. I've never seen any of the movies of it.
It's
Oh,
sort of
really?
balanced in the sense that there's kids who are actually nice and want to actually, do good, but there's other kids who are just mean and petty and just call the fat kid piggy.
Piggy, yeah.
Let's get the piggy, and then it's like they're all dressed up like like tribal.
Animals, yeah, like.
And then the rescuers come and they look at them. It's like, what the hell are you kids doing? It's like,
Yeah.
Right.
how did you get to this point? It's like,
When left
It's-
alone.
yeah, but actually there's a real life story that was actually the base for that book where these kids from a private college, they stole a sailboat and they went out, they skipped school, they stole a sailboat and they went out sailing and they got into a storm and they were stranded in an
Ah.
island for I think 3 years or something.
Wow.
And it actually, they did okay. They helped each other. They built everything. They remember
they
their
didn't
training.
kill each other. They
No.
didn't-
They became good friends. They even became friends with the person who they stole the boat from. They actually helped. They paid for the boat and all that.
Got back in his good graces.
Yeah. I'll see if I can find the story and add that to the show notes. That was kind of the basis for Lord of the Flies, except in the book they went a completely different direction.
Yeah.
We'll give you guys some of the things we found on YouTube and stuff from the show notes, like that performance of the film at the Castro Theater in San Francisco with all the motorcycle bikers bringing her as a tour to bring her into the theater on their motorcycles and stuff.
All right, awesome.
And a couple others that we found, like the interviews and stuff.
So what's coming up next, Ryan?
So next we'll have more news. We're gonna be doing Jericho Squad 77 here pretty soon, and we'll be covering the book Pandemonium.
Oh, cool!
The art book Pandemonium from
it's kind of a mix. It's a mix of like art book and interviews.
And it's got a
behind the scenes. In a way.
And it's got a play, The History of the Devil, at the end. That was probably the first time that play was ever published.
Oh,
so
definitely.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's going to be nice. It's 2021. Getting into the 10th year of the Barker Cast, and for me, the year of wellness. So thank you guys for being here with us. We had a lot of fun.
My pleasure. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We enjoyed this film. I always enjoyed it when I could see back in the day, and it was a lot of fun to revisit it.
This yesterday was my first time seeing it. I had never seen it before.
Oh.
Well, good.
I only had read about it until now.
Well, good. I'm glad to educate your palate.
This movie crystallizes my desire to not have kids. Anyway, guys, and this commentary track, having no beginning, will have no end.
Thank you for joining us, and we hope you have subscribed. You can find the Clive Barker Podcast wherever you find audio. Show notes for this episode, as well as news and reviews, can be found at our website at www.clivebarkercast.com. The Clive Barker Podcast, or BarkerCast, is an independent editorial podcast and blog that is not affiliated with or under contract by Clive Barker or Seraphim Inc. This is a labor of love by the fans for the fans. Watch for our annual Kickstarter fundraisers to get some cool stuff, and you can buy t-shirts on our TeePublic store. Go to teepublic.com and search for BarkerCast.
Thanks for listening.